gonna see who's gonna keep it honest.
What's up, brother? How you feeling?
I'm good, man. You see the topic? I sent it to you last night because
Yes, sir.
I want to get I feel like some real talk need to happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Whether
I truly agree.
oh yeah. You I talk long enough. You go ahead, man. Or men choosing beauty over red flags. You go ahead.
I mean, my thing is this beauty concept. I tell women every day, beauty fades, loyalty and respect remains. You know what I'm saying? That's my red flag is a woman using her beauty in her box. You know, that's standard. That comes fully equipped already. So, you know, besides that, that's already that's already an accessory. So why are we using vanity as a transactional method of building relationships? It's just crazy. I mean, I find it very crazy, and that's one of the world's biggest sin is vanity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Eh,
And
eh,
and the crazy thing is these men and women don't realize it, and it's so brainwashed from what they see online and hear from others. It's like programmed, and it's sad because you look at it, you say, where did we get? When did we get here? When did we get here? Choosing, finances and vanity over character and individual self. I mean, really? Yeah, people are they're taking money over love and using beauty as a price tag. And I'm like, that's how much you're really worth? Really? Man, it just baffles me. And it's just a big wow factor, You got to ask yourself, where did we go wrong?
Hey, King, I'm gonna bring something to your attention and give you the mic back. You remember Tuesday? When you mentioned, what some women are programmed to bring to the table, and what I was saying was a lot of that can be some of our fault too as men because that's all we've allowed or required. We didn't really, prioritize other things besides that. You know,
And that became our Achilles heel. You know what I mean? That was our Achilles heel instead of using logic and thinking rational about longevity. I mean, using a woman as a human trampoline. I mean, come on now. Anybody can have that. But I mean, if you take that out of the relationship and the physical aspects, the beauty, what else do you have? Really? I
man,
mean,
that's a good point.
you take the smacks away, right? You take all the makeup and all the beauty appliances or props women use to attract men. What do you really have? What do you have besides smacks? Nothing. And you're an empty shell of a person because you don't know each other. Only sexually. When did we get there?
Yeah. Let me get Mr. Unknown in the conversation. Mr. Unknown, what's going on, brother?
I'm good, brother. How are you? Thank you for having me in a panel and letting me speak. Do you want me to address the prompt or do you want me to wait?
You can come in.
Okay.
I appreciate your support. Are men choosing beauty over red flags? You go ahead, sir.
Okay, yeah, very awesome prompt. I really like to give my ideas and my intellect and it for sure from one way to other. But to be honest with you, beauty lies within a person's character, attributes, and kindness, not just in a outward appearance. Not just in a physical appearance. However, some people choose physical beauty over obvious red flags because of the attraction, and it could lead the cloud judgment. They may ignore the warning sign, right? Hoping looks will compensate for poor behavior, attributes, or incompatibility. At the end, true and lasting happiness comes from inner beauty, not just what we see on outside. So this is because of the cloud judgment, because man tends to get attracted with woman's physicality, but it will not gonna work. It's very important to know the characteristic or true color of a woman and see if it's resonate with your characteristics. But 90 out of 100 times, men are attracted with the physicality, and that will lead the chaos in a relationship if they fall with the wrong woman in a love. So therefore, attributes, characteristics, moral values, standards, ethics are the fundamental component that helps the relationship keep going, not a physicality, not a physical looks. For example, if a girl that I'm dating right at the moment, for example, okay, if she's very beautiful, she's very attractive, she may be very sexy, but what if she doesn't have a good characteristics? Do you think that I will able to have a relationship with her? Do you believe that I will have a beautiful family with her? Because she lacks the characteristics. So therefore, my idea is it's very important to get to know person very well from a real ground, and characteristic, values, interests, hobbies, compatibilities are only the component that guides the relationship for long going. Thank you, and I'm done here.
Man, that's very true. King, what you think about that? That's
You,
yeah.
you saw the comment. I said absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yes, you nailed it right on the head, my brother. I mean,
Yeah.
but see the way it's designed with society now. Our brothers are ignoring the red flags because they're so mesmerized by the beauty. And I'm like, are you not noticing that most of these women are trying to mimic each other?
Yeah, they mimic each other. They do a
And
makeup.
and it's crazy. And they do the same things that
Right, brother.
it's no originality. There's no
Right.
what's the word I'm looking for?
They pick a fake personality.
Exactly.
The fake
And
personality.
there's no mystery,
There
no
is no
more.
mystery in it for sure.
Because back in the day, women didn't really reveal much, because women were proud of their bodies,
Right. Don't you see in the TikTok? They
and,
do a
and
makeup and filter and stuff like that just to be in the center of attraction. You see it, right? Yeah.
yes, and it was like they would wear things, but it would be tasteful, but they will also lead things to the man's imagination. It wasn't, wow, here it is. Now you see it every time you go online.
Right.
And I'm like, really? For real? Just for likes, clicks, and
Right.
fans. And I'm like, after all of that is said and done, the fandom, and when you cut off and you go offline, how happy are you for real? Are you really happy? Are you really happy about getting ran through by dozens of men? Because you using your body as a cash cow?
Right. I'll give you an example. I have been in that situation recently. Okay. Shall I share the real story? Right. I was in this situation where a girl started wearing a makeup, and putting an extra effort because she had a feelings for me, And I could tell she was trying to attract my attention, which I appreciate and respected too. However, I realized that I couldn't reciprocate her feelings in the same way, you know. She
Mm-hmm.
tried to get my attention one way from other. Even though I didn't feel the same connection, I understood that her efforts come from a genuine place that had made me to want to give my attention to her. But at the last, what she does, she started wearing more makeups. She started to show her body, you know, expose her body in a TikTok, and I knew, I knew that she is an attention seeker. And then I stopped talking to her. And then I
But
stopped talking to her.
the thing is, she lost the
Yeah,
authenticity. You know what I'm saying?
audacity.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
You're not authentic anymore by putting all that. You're just putting on a mask at this point. You're not really revealing your true self.
Right.
And I'm like, what are you ashamed of? I mean, every blemish that we have, every imperfection of everyone makes them them. That makes who you are, you know. And why would you be ashamed of it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like vanity is the biggest thing that's going on now.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, I believe in understanding woman's character before becoming serious with her. You know, I observe her behavior, values, and communication, and how she treats others to see if we are truly compatible. It's not about playing a game or judging, you know, unfairly, but about protecting my peace and making the wise decision because I knew that she wants the attention from a man's. Therefore, I stopped talking to her on the spot. Yep.
But man, but I know Fifth heard that saw that post that I posted with that lady. That's a powerful woman right there, man. I was like,
Right.
Yeah,
good.
Tamika Marie. You
Ooh,
if you want to briefly talk about it, you go ahead.
my goodness. I mean, what she stated, it was powerful because I said, man, you have a woman addressing the behavior of our modern day woman generation, and it's truly broken, you know. And we need more women out here that's preaching the gospel like that, exposing the truth to men, letting men know, you know, there's women out here that do have our backs. But also you got to be mindful of the women you choose. Because, I mean, if you just chasing beauty,
And I want to cut you in the middle. Do you know one reason? Some people they seek a constant validation because they are going through the stress because they are dealing with the stress, insecurity, or emotional pressures. When life feels overwhelming, right? And people they need approval from outside source, as such social media, Facebook, Instagram, or whatsoever, because they instantly look for approval and the compliment, attention, or praise may help them to feel valued or supported, but it doesn't work them, you know. That is their stress because they have a low self-esteem. So when they don't give attention in a real life, then they seek the attention in a social media. I know this very well. So, but it will not help them to find an inner peace, nor it does help them to be confident.
I get that, but
This is
what
a
she was,
disease.
I get it, but with what she was explaining in the context is the programming, how the women are movement, this movement that's going on is if you can't pay, you know, you can't play, you know. And it's this transactional phase we're going through now is ridiculous. Like she said, it's a prostitution lifestyle that our women are living by these days. And when they get to a certain age, then they want to settle down. But you've already been ran through, sweetie. What is your value to that man?
Yep.
And then on top of that, we are now voicing our opinion. We've been silent for quite some time, but we've been speaking, but we haven't been heard. The dig is up. I mean, we are not a paycheck for
We are
these
not.
women,
We are not.
but we are looked among as a paycheck from these
Mm-hmm.
women because men are valued by how
How
much they have in a wallet or in a bank account.
or
It is
whatsoever.
it is now becoming an epidemic. Now, no one wants to have families.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants to have marriages. Do
No,
you
no.
know it's 27% of women
Mm-hmm.
that are married now?
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the percent, they've already said no.
They don't want to get
They're
married. They
numb
want,
to it.
yeah,
They
they
don't
don't
want to
want.
even have families. They don't want to have
all
marriages.
all they want is a living together relationship, and they stay for a while, and if things didn't work out, they just pick up the another guy and they go. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But the wild thing is both sides want traditional relationships, of course. Women want a traditional man, but they don't want to be traditional wives. Meaning as though playing her role, doing her duty, being that man's helpmate. That is why our heavenly Father created woman for man is to be man's helpmate. His his greatest achievement. Someone that's going to be an asset, not a liability. And most of these women are growing up to be liabilities and instead of assets. And these parents are failing their children, their daughters. They're failing them because they're not teaching them how to stand on their own 2 feet. They're telling them, yeah, you get a man, take care of you. You don't have to do nothing. No, that's not what we was taught and from the word. I mean, it's everything starts from a heaven above. It's God, man, woman, children. It goes in that order.
Yeah, King. I'm gonna let Lady T come in. All right,
All right.
Lady T, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? I'm just listening in and just hearing about, like, all about the topics y'all been talking about.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on.
No
Um,
problem.
I feel like you already know the rules. But I'll
Yeah,
say it if I no
I
cursing.
I
Okay,
already know.
cool. There we go. Good, good. Thank you.
Be respectful. Be
There you go.
considerate of others. You come here in peace. You don't come here with drama. And you come to Joe share your knowledge.
I appreciate that. The topic, the prompt, are men choosing beauty over red flags? What's your opinion?
Well, what man on this face of earth don't want a pretty woman? The thing is that man will know what they want, right? They'll see a pretty woman and of course it will bring them attraction, but it all depends on the mind of the man. So if the man is more so on the has that understanding of himself and he wants specific type of relationship or he's ready to settle down and stuff like that, he will consider the beauty, but then he'll actually go and observe the woman he's with, and regardless of how pretty she is or what it is, and if he feels inadequate or lack of there is and stuff, he will be a little blindsided by the red flags of if the woman is a toxic type of woman, even though she's pretty.
Mm. Stay right there. So, let's talk about some red flags, right? So, disrespect, you know, there may be some things that, a man might let her slide versus other women that he wouldn't allow to do that with. You know what I'm saying? Because of how she looks, because of what she may actually offer uh, transactionally. And a lot of men get caught up in that and they will ignore that, go further with that woman. And then when a relationship gets out of control, it's, oh man, she was no good. When you knew that in the beginning. Speak to that, Lady T.
Well, going against your own self and allowing a beauty to be around you, even though that she's toxic, that is a choice. And if you're going to go and be blindsided by it, then being crushed in the end is what exactly? The thing is they say choose wisely, and understanding relationship types and being observant of the partner that you're with, and don't just look at the good points but also look at the negative points. Does this person actually fit in with you? So when it comes to like red flags, and it's like, well, she's beautiful, I want some I feel good to have eye candy around me and stuff, and then if it's on a physicality, so it's intimacy and it's good, most men will be like, oh, it was good, it's some good goods, then there's many men that just get hooked up on that. So it's understanding oneself, also the relationship types, and you'll not have to deal with so much. You'll be more observant of the person that you're actually getting with.
Let me flip that side of the coin then. Okay. Now let's reverse this. You got a handsome man, correct? He takes good care of you, right? Now, but the downside about it is this man's abusive. He's a convulsive liar, convulsive cheater. But this woman still sticks around because he's handsome and he's taking care of her. He's a debonair guy. Same situation. She's ignoring the red flags. You understand what I'm saying?
No,
No, but what I'm saying is it worth ignoring the red flags for all that vanity?
do you know that many women that get involved with a narcissistic type of person, regardless if the person is handsome, can take care of stuff, most times they're lacking. They have gone through something that they have rather daddy issues or some type of lacking in life. So when they go and they get with a person, they not it is very hard for that person to go through it. It's the same thing with a guy getting with a very compulsive type of woman that is very horrible and verbally and everything. They may be able to go and come away from it, but a narcissistic man going with a woman, they literally seclude them, abuse them, make them feel as if they cannot have nobody around, that the only person is for them to help. So it's a big difference. It has nothing really to do with the vanity of how handsome the man is. It's that the entrapment of the narcissistic behavior. And it's hard for certain women to come away from it
But
because they
I beg to differ because you have women that use their vanity as an enterprise. You understand what I'm saying? This is what we're saying.
yeah.
Men are ignoring the red flags for a woman's vanity and her body, her looks, and what's between her thighs.
Okay.
And he's becoming the simp, the sucker, while she benefits because of
No,
her beauty and her vanity. This is the topic we're trying to get you to understand.
no. I totally get what you're saying. In certain situations, that is it. But if you look on how society as goes about it, if you look across the norm of the way that many music artists go about it, you see so much different things across the norm that people see. It's all about the sexualization of everything. And if you really look on it, a lot of them will end up looking on it like that they can only be able to get a man by being that beautiful type of person. And so a lot of people do that. Some people are just vain. They'll use it and they know that it works, and it works. But it's not like a crazy amount of high percentage of women, that are just vain and vanity and trying to trap a man to go and pay for everything. There's many different levels of women that they'll go and they'll wear makeup and they'll do all those different things. It just depends on their career. It depends on what they're doing. Some women dress highly. So it's all different levels of women and everything. The point is that if you go and choose wisely instead of, and using the brain in your head instead of the lower brain, and see clearly for what a person in front of you is, then people will less likely be trapped in the nonsense. You understand?
Let me add this in there because another thing would be for men who ignore said red flags, we have to analyze that man, right? So what is he lacking internally? What confidence? What validation is he seeking? Um, a sense of self, a knowledge of self. There's got to be things that are also missing in his wheelhouse for him to even accept such red flags. Does anybody want to speak to that?
That's facts. If a man is confident and he feels, and he's at a successful point in his life, and he is like literally building his empire and stuff like that, any beauty can come along, but he's going to look for someone that fits into his world. He's not just going to have any beauty. Any beauty can come along. The most gorgeous woman could come along. But if she doesn't have anything like a brain in her head, or she has a career path that is, that they can build off, they'll just look on it like if they're, it's not the exact same thing. So if a man lacks confidence and lacks certain things within self, it's very easy. It's very easy because it's attention and it fills the gap.
And I agree as well. But also, from the beginning of time, man has always been looking for the reflection of him. A woman that is his pure reflection. And nowadays, I feel that we gone out of sync with that. And the way how times have changed, morality and how things are perceived have changed. So the way how man thinks now is, okay, she gonna throw it out there, I'm gonna treat her like she's out there. And women get upset and offended by that. But again, with the beauty aspect, this is becoming a product now more than something to be adored. You know what I'm saying? Women back in the day was adored. Now, women, when we look at them, we see them as promoting themselves. Like going to a red light district and pointing to the window saying, I want that one. How much is that one going to cost me, though? And the lack of confidence with these brothers, their self-esteem, they fall into this trap of, okay, I got to pay, in order to survive or feel wanted or appreciated by this woman. And it is all about their confidence, their lack of confidence. And until we fix that, it's going to remain the same. And I hate to say it, but it's not going to never change. And we have to heal each other on both sides. We got to learn to work together, but we can't, because it's always going to be the battle of the smexes. Every time we have certain topics or issues like this, we're going to always have that one individual that will cause confusion and outrage and lash out to people because of their opinions. And we all have our own opinions, but this is something we have to fix as a whole. But
Well, let me just speak to the purpose of why I chose this topic. So really, this topic is really just bringing men to task and really putting us on trial so that we could actually just kind of fix ourselves in this particular case, because it's a lot of things that we allow. So, they say that people can only do to you what you allow, right? So that's why I spoke to, what's going on in a man on the inside as far as how he feels about himself. Because Lady T answered the question in a way that I was hoping that she would, and she did. She said that if a man is lacking self confidence, if he's lacking self awareness, if he doesn't have these, if the game is not, sadly, because a lot of men out here don't have the game taught to them. That if he's lacking these things, then he will seek that. He will seek what it is to fulfill a void. And King, your tagline is standing on your purpose. Tell me what happens to a man when he is not standing on his purpose.
He's lacking accountability,
Lacking the accountability, is lacking the responsibilities, and he is not sure about what he is doing.
and he has no direction. He
Yeah,
doesn't. He's completely lost.
he is completely lost. He is in a too diverse road, and he doesn't know which road to take for a directions. He's confused.
And and like me, I for a long time I used to just blow up in panels or conversations, but I had to sit down and observe and sit back and rationalize things
Uh-huh.
because I was like this. Okay, that's their opinion, but I would be so passionate that I would get angry. But being around gentlemen like Fifth and some other panelists on here that I have respect for, they've taught me how to just sit back, observe, listen, and just learn how to understand people. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah, especially if you are a confused person, you need to give yourself enough time to figure things out. Confusion comes from pressures, emotions, or unclear goals, and rushing decisions can make things worse. Taking an ample time to do a self reflection and fixing things is very important, and take time to reflect, understand your feelings, and think calmly helps you to gain the clear picture. Growth doesn't happen instantly. It requires the dedication, patience, and self-awareness. When you allow yourself proper time, your thoughts become clear and your decision become stronger. So if people are confused, then they better to work out on the things that they want to fix and have a clear path, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
taking responsibility for your actions
Right.
and owning up to your mistakes is how you stand on your purpose as a man. And when you ignore it and you don't acknowledge it and you pass it on to somebody else, or you just don't care, what makes you accountable? What makes you reliable? How can I depend on you? And you can't be upfront with me.
Hey, let me ask Lady T something. Beyonda, you there? Let me get Beyonda's attention real quick, but I gotta ask Lady T something. Beyonda.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Okay, all right. How you doing, brother? Always
I'm doing
glad to
right.
see you here. Um,
Likewise.
you see the prompt. I said it to you last night. I'm gonna let
Uh,
you. I'm gonna let you talk about it. Then I gotta ask Lady T something. Okay. So, are men choosing
right.
beauty over red flags? Go ahead, brother.
Um. Well, I would say sometimes the red flag can be, someone's beauty. You know what I mean? Like you look at a biblical story of Samson and Delilah. He was manipulated by her beauty, and but we know how that story ends. So the red flag can be beauty. I would say I don't really know if there's I don't know if there's a definitive answer to this question, only because You know what I would say? I would say men sacrifice beauty over red flags because if someone, like, if a female looks moderate, she's not like, she's not a baddie, in like societal terms. Like, she's not a baddie. She's not really like a 10, but, she's a good wife, or she's a good girlfriend. And I feel like men, at least in my opinion, for what I've seen, prioritize a good woman over the beauty, because with the beauty can come red flags. Like, me and my friend were talking about this the other day, and, we were watching a video or something on YouTube, and, like, there was this girl, and she was, like, wild. Like, she was, like, crazy. All red flags. But she was a 10. She was a good-looking girl,
Yeah, kind of.
in my opinion. So I don't really go for looks, really, because
Uh-huh.
that can come red flags. But, like, if a woman knows they're attractive, and, like, she has, like, that type of, like, mindset, it can come with some pretty undesirable traits, in my
Uh-huh.
opinion.
Uh-huh.
So I would say that men don't choose beauty. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times they can go. I would rather be with like a 6 with a 10 personality than a 10 with a 2 personality. You know what I
Again,
mean? That's what I would
yeah,
say.
it depends on the situation and circumstances of the woman. For example, if a woman have had a past trauma, and if she is stagnant, and if she didn't find a way to get out from that trauma, do you consider that is a red flags for you to be in a relationship with that woman if the woman is stagnant with her past trauma and didn't able to move on from the trauma? Would you consider that as a red flags? Oh, yes, you got a call.
Yeah. Ask that question again, Mister Unknown.
Let's say, for example, you want to date a woman who have had a past trauma, right? But
Hmm.
she didn't move on. She didn't move on from her past trauma. She's stagnant with her past trauma. Do you still date that woman? Do you still wants to be in a relationship with the woman who is stagnant with her past trauma?
Well,
I
you
mean, I don't
shouldn't.
have to.
You don't.
I
No,
don't
Yeah.
no.
have to.
Do you
That's the thing.
consider that is a red flag or not? Was my questions.
Mm,
I
yeah.
mean, it can be.
Yeah.
I would say this, like,
Uh-huh.
people. No one. This is what I'll say, right? And maybe I'm being objective. Correct me if I'm
Uh-huh.
wrong, but a lot of times people don't fault the person for what happened to them when they were younger, like when they were kids, right?
Uh-huh.
But now you're an adult.
Right.
So if you didn't let that go, I don't have to deal with that myself. I don't have to take that on.
Uh-huh.
I'm not judging you. I'm not saying that you're a bad person because
Right.
you have
Right.
past trauma. I'm just
Mhm.
saying I don't got to deal with it because women will disqualify a man for being too short.
Right.
I have the right to disqualify her if she is still holding on to things that happened to her that I didn't do. So I'm not obligated to take that on and add to my life whenever I don't think that it is conducive to my future and to my life. If I'm already healed and I dealt
Mhm.
with my trauma the way I dealt with it, I don't have to take on yours. I don't have to.
You
And
don't
that's
have
not
to.
me
Right.
being judgmental
Right.
or being
Right.
unfair. That's life.
Yeah.
That's just how it
Makes
works.
sense. Makes sense. Thank you.
All right. Let me ask Lady T something. Hey, Lady T, how you doing?
Hi.
Hey. You can answer this or you can not answer it. It's totally up to you. Have
Go
you
ahead.
have you observed in your past a man ignoring a red flag about you because of maybe because of his physical attraction to you? Maybe. I mean, it's kind of hard for you to answer that, but has that ever happened in your personal life?
No, because the thing is I worked on myself. So the thing is that when it's when you work on yourself, you project your inner to your outer. So if you haven't worked on your inner part of yourself, that's your reflection and everything to do with your insecurity or like, confidence, you name it. If you haven't, then you're going to project what is inside. And so if you're lacking inside, it will be only surface value. You see what I mean?
So you're saying in any of the well, I have a question. Are you? Dang, I don't want to get too personal. Well, okay, I'll just do this. I'll just do this. So I'm sure for the fellas, there have been men out there that we have maybe let something be said to us that we shouldn't have been said to us, and then we kind of let that slide because of whatever reason that we have, and the woman herself may not know that that's a red flag, but it is. So, um, does anybody want to speak to that? Because the thing is, I
Yeah,
just want to know. I just
yeah,
want to know if, as fellas, we're going to be honest here. You know what I mean? Go ahead, be honest. You about to
yeah.
say something?
I have a perfect example, and this happened early on in me and my fiance's relationship. This is like the perfect example, right? So, for those of you who don't know, I have an impediment for my speech. I speak clearly a lot of times, but I do stutter here and there. I've definitely worked on that over the years. I'm 28 now, so I definitely speak better than I don't. But, in the beginning, and she knew that before, but she made a joke about it. And I let her know off the bat, don't do that again. And I was like being dead serious. And she felt so bad. And then she never did it again. So, red flags, they can be spontaneous during a conversation. And she didn't know that it would trigger me like that, but it did because I got bullied for that my entire childhood. So I was like, yeah, don't do that again, because it was rude. So I told her right there. But I didn't ignore that though. I didn't ignore her saying that because if I did, she would have kept doing it and it would have been bad down the line. But to your point, Fifth, about a man ignoring a red flag, I've done that prior, and that's with my fiance, but with other women where like they'll talk to me a certain way. But I'm pretty cool, calm, and collected. I don't really get mad over a lot of things. And if my intention was to have, like intercourse, I don't really care what you say. I'm gonna do what I want, and then once I get what I want, I'm leaving. That was my mindset back then. But with her, that isn't the mindset, and it never has been. So if she were to like talk at me or say something to me that I didn't like, I would tell her in the beginning, and then she never like made them. She never made the mistake twice. You know what I mean? And she would like leave it at that, and that would be the whole thing.
It is because I'm gonna tell you something right now. Um, Man, we all got something's not gonna like or do. Let's just keep it real. I'm pretty sure in my past, but it wasn't because of the looks. But I'm pretty sure a woman has ignored something that I may have done for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? And so, look, we ain't perfect out here. We ain't perfect out here. You know. So, and Lady T, I know you're not a man, but I'm sure you have observed, whether it be in your family, whether it be men that you may be friends with, past relationships. I'm sure you've seen men ignore. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So okay, so not it's not my personal thing, but I have seen different ones being in like lots of different relationships. Okay, and the thing is that you'll see certain ones will have a specific type that they like it because that specific woman could bring certain things. So it's rather they can bring it all depends on what the man is on. Like okay, for example, if his depending on his lifestyle, what stage he's at, and when he'll go and he'll date a woman. So for example, he'll date a woman that gives that what do you call it, that excitement, the be able to deal with like certain situations that is not the norm, but that person could be totally crazy. See what I mean? And that man will still want to be around that woman. She's beautiful, but she's crazy. but she fits into that lifestyle that that man is in. See what I mean? But it's not good for his mental health at all. But if you go and you take him out of that certain lifestyle and put him into a different one, so for example, he became very career oriented and he was fixing himself, his confidence, his self esteem. He was feeling successful and fulfilled. He was building and stuff like that. That specific type of woman would not fit into his realm because it would end up being a liability for him. It would crush his dreams because she just doesn't fit for that specific lifestyle he has. See what I mean? So many people, for different reasons, so like two people can have a child together and they can still be toxic and they'll stick together just for the child and be toxic, but it's not good for the child and it's not good for either one of them. See what I mean? So there's many different types of reasons why people stay together. It's not necessarily just vanity, you know? And it is what comes with it. That's why they say to choose wisely. And if you really look on it, as we grow from youth all the way up to adult, there's many different stages. Like the beginning is innocence. You don't know nothing. You're just learning. Your focus is this. You're guided by, you know, your parents or like, you know, your guardians or grandparents or whatever it is. And it's pure innocence. Then it's of knowing. Then it's about intimacy, knowing the first parts of intimacy. It's knowing yourself, figuring out your own, you know, your own character, figuring out your own personality, gaining your own independence. Then it goes to looking on it. You get older, you're figuring out your boundaries. You're figuring out the career that you want, and you're like building yourself and evolving into what you want to be. So there's different stages, and I find as you get older, you will have more boundaries when you get older. When you're younger, you'll have less boundaries, and it's more free to like just go with the flow, even though it can be really amazing or really chaos. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just depends on what stage a person's at and what their inner part is and how they're feeling within. Because I've seen different ones that they're really that they're younger and they're more free spirited. Men have more like, you know, when they're younger, if they don't have that proper maturity and stuff like that, then they're just with it. They just looking on a physicality. There's some that are young, they're just very mature, and they know that they'll accept a certain nice girl. It just depends on which level they're at. And sometimes you go like, you know, men and some women go through the similar stages, but it's just figuring out what stage you're at, how much healing you had within, and literally of like when you're looking for a partner, are you ready for it? Because when you get older, you look like depending on your responsibilities and stuff, you're going to look at a partner and say like, do you fit in my world? Are your capabilities? Do you have the capabilities to be into that, you know, for that specific woman's world? It's the same thing with when it comes to a man. When you're looking and you are like on this level, are you going to go for a woman that is very low on the levels that would fit in a different scenario? Would you go for one that is not on your level? If you've reached the pinnacle of your life and you've evolved, would you pick someone that is not on your level, that doesn't have that understanding? For example, you're in business. Would you go and get with someone that has no idea to build at all?
So
That's
are you
in the clubs? Sorry if I'm
so
going off.
no, that's okay. That's okay. I do want to answer to some of your points. So are you asking what would a man see if a man was in business? What would he be doing with a woman who is not? Is that what you said? I just want to make sure I heard that correctly.
So if a man is in business, he's building his future, he's building his assets, he's on point, his surrounding people are more on the you know on the level he is. Would he go out and pick a woman that is going is free spirited in the clubs, that is constantly dressing like, that is not like, that's dressing haughty and isn't on that level, would he choose that?
He might.
Would it just be for, it would probably just be for a moment. It wouldn't be for long term though, because it
Yeah,
wouldn't work. It
yeah,
really wouldn't work.
it could be for play.
The thing is it all depends on the man or the woman. What are your capabilities are, where you are at life, how much healing you've gone through, what you want exactly. And when you look at the person that you want to be with, is that one woman is going to fit in fit in with you? If not, is it going to be on a physicality? Most people know exactly what they want when they go and they see a woman. They'll see, oh, well, we'll see if this relationship, the dating works and, we can get together. But if a man is not really on that serious point in his life and he's about more of the physicality and more intimacy, he's just going to go for that. He's not going to bring no depth to anything. It's the same thing with a woman. If a woman is literally on that physicality point, is not on that point of wanting to settle down and have, and just want to fun it, it's just going to be the same thing. But I find for the amount of years, I've seen so many different things. There's always the double standards. A man can go through and slew a whole bunch of women and be patted on the back. But if a woman does the same, it's the worst. You're ruined. How is the man not ruined? You slewed so many women. You could have had pure jacket. You could have had pure all this stuff and everything and disconnected things, but you never made a family. See what I mean? There's so much judgments and double standards when it comes to things. But it's good to be the point I'm making is that to choose wisely, but also to figure out oneself before you choose another, so that you don't get blinded by red flags. See what I mean? And cause yourself more problems and struggle.
Okay, cool. Let me kind of Beyond, give me 1 second. I just want to kind of have a one-on-one with Lady T, okay? Because since she's the only lady on the panel, so I guess I want to address this, right? So there's what you do and there's what you are. They should be the same, right? But for some people, there's not. You mentioned the woman in the club and you mentioned the businessman. The businessman, when he takes his business coat off, he's probably a club guy. So he's dating his match, if that's what he is, although he does business. Does that make sense?
I hear you. There is a percentage of men that are in business that likes to blow off steam in clubs and stuff, but they will not take it personally. It will be just more so to let off steam. It's not necessarily for an actual relationship.
Yeah. And I guess what I'm speaking to, and you're speaking to it too, is that sometimes things look a certain way, and you say, "Man, why is that person with them? They're not in each other's league." When in fact they are. You know what I'm saying? It from the outside it may look a certain way, but really once you really know the inner workings of that relationship, you're like, wow. I guess I see why they're together, because they're the same kind of person. Like for instance, we talk about toxicity, right? Since we're talking about red flags, right? We're talking about toxicity. There's an assumption that that men who dress the uniform are their uniform until they take that uniform off. And then you realize they're just as toxic as the woman they chose. How about that, Lady T?
Well, it all comes down to character, and it all comes down to how your inner person is. So if people mask their lacking within, they're going to be whatever they're going to be. And it really doesn't matter. But if people would not so mask what they really truthfully are and work on themselves, then we would have less toxicity in this world.
And that's why we can't judge a book by its cover. Right there. Just to kind of speak to your original point, to bring it full circle when you mention the guy in business. Because that's a uniform. That's a job. That's his career. But what he is on the inside was what he truly is. And that's why we have to spend more time on the character as opposed to seeing what the person's career is and what it's perceived to be. Because who that person really is what that person really is about. That makes sense, Lady T?
I hear you.
Yeah.
There's no judgment of book cover of stuff. People are exactly who they are with inside, right? But what I was talking about is like when it consists of people going and doing long-term relationships, right? And you know that outside in the outside world, there is so many different types of levels and dealings and, what people want and don't want and stuff like that. So yeah, but it does have to do with the inner character of a person.
Yeah. And this is what I'm saying about the red flags. And, Tuesday, I'm going to have a topic geared towards the women because I like to mix it up, because I'm pretty fair. We make sure that we address all sides, So Tuesday, I'm going to have a topic that's going to be similar to this for the ladies because, how ladies judge beauty is different from men. So that's the one thing we're not equal on that one, But I'm gonna have definitely a topic for the definitely geared towards the ladies. Tuesday. That's gonna be similar to this one because this one is for the men. But you know, this is why it's so important when you observe character, when you're looking for good character, then you could spot those red flags. But I think the point that I was trying to make earlier is that you know when a man lacks self-esteem, when his self-esteem is pretty low, then when it comes to his options, his opportunities are going to be how he moves as well. So let's just say a man is not really high about himself, right? But he just so happens to get a lady who is of a certain, status for him. And he kind of feels like, man, I ain't going to do no better than this. So I might as well just tolerate what she gives me. I'm sure you've seen that, Lady T.
Yeah, I've seen that enough times. And the thing is that people shouldn't be so hard on themselves for their lack, but to always to challenge themselves, instead of just what do you call it, accepting what is in front of them, and be like, well, I'm not feeling the greatest me, so like, I find this one, and I'm just going to just deal with it. You end up causing so much different issues within your own self, like just accepting whatever is there. Like for example, there's in every environment or community or area, there is different scopes of women. It's the same thing as there's different scopes of men. If people don't see outside of their scope, they will just accept what is within, right? But building oneself is the most important thing, regardless if it's man or woman. Building oneself is important because you'll find more success in relationships when you literally go and do that healing and building and conquering yourself before you try to conquer in a relationship.
Yeah, Beyonda, you wanna speak to the conversation? I think you might be busy. You might be busy.
I only caught a little bit of it. Can you kind of like rehash like what it was?
Yeah. I was just simply stating that, because I had said to Lady T, I was saying that there are men who have, when a man has low self esteem, when things are not going well in his life, and he just so happens to come across a woman who's a particular status for him, not for the world, but just for him. You know, that there are things that he probably will put up with because he probably feels like, man, this is probably the best I could do. I can't get one better than this, so I might as well just tolerate what she gives me. You ever witness something like that, Beyond?
It's a fact. Yeah, that's true. I did it whenever I was single, and I'm not an ugly guy, but self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. So you're gonna go for options that you normally wouldn't go for, and when it sounds bad, because it sounds like you're degrading the woman you're going for, which in a sense you kind of are, or at least I was. But that's the mindset that I had, so I just went with whatever. I'm not saying that's a good thing to do, because that's like you're not respecting yourself, and you have a lack of respect for the woman you're going for. So it is kind of like that is kind of like the dark nature of a man. Like if a man feels like he has no options, he'll go for options that on the objective level, that woman isn't attractive. But for me, that's what I got. And I guess on the flip side of that, it'll be the same thing as a woman settling with a man who she really doesn't love like that, but it was the best option because he has money. It's the same thing. It's just on the flip side, when men do it for like a sexual interaction, I guess. But women do it when women do it, they're actually trapped. They're trapped in like a marriage. They'll marry a guy. Like I'll give you an example. Look at, I don't know if you all have seen Hunger Games, right? I've read the books, I've seen the movies, right? That movie pretty much sums it up all of how women move when it comes to like being with a guy. Like the main character used the dude the entire time, and he knew about it, but she was very attractive, so he kind of won, but he wasn't the one that she wanted. You know what I mean? So she settled and he won. And so when you have low self-esteem, you're gonna go for whatever you can get, and you're not gonna have confidence, and you're not gonna have standards, and that's kind of how it is. That's the dark nature of a man, I would say. I don't know if that makes any sense, Fifth, or if you want to touch base on that.
Nah, man, it does, man. It does. Because, listen, I will admit in my past that I have took women out on dates, right, that I probably shouldn't have because they wasn't rocking with me. They was just rocking with the experience. But because I like sitting across from them and how they look, and I was kind of imagining, you know, hey, having a woman like this in my by my arm, might make me, look a little better. You know what I mean? And so, but that didn't go nowhere. It was because I was so at the time, because we all are different at certain times of our lives. You know what I'm saying? We have seasons that we may not be so 100% about. And I ignored it and ended up with consequences. And that's the thing about ignoring red flags. When you ignore red flags, you suffer the consequences. And really, this is all about just making compromises that are unhealthy. And when you make unhealthy compromises, you have to deal with the results. You know. Anything you want to share on that, Lady T, from a woman's perspective?
That is so true. The thing is that if you don't observe and you take a step back and recognize those things, you'll always end up with a dead end in the end, and it will be ridiculous consequences depending on how severe the situation is. And so it's always best to rise above and so that you don't feel that way, you know? That's why they say solitude is the best medicine in life, because self-reflection is important. Growing oneself is important. That not necessarily, you know, because we all want somebody in our lives, and we always, you know, we're looking for the one, or we're looking for someone that is compatible with us. But the thing too is that you have to work on self, and if you don't, you're just going to just submit to whatever's out there.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very true. You know, this goes further than just a first date, second date level. There are men who marry women and ignore red flags. Marry women for their beauty. I mean, it goes that far. You know what I'm saying? Have kids with a woman. It goes that far. Does anybody want to speak to that? Once it gets to that point.
Can you repeat that for a second?
No, I was saying that there are men who will marry women because, you know, I'm just talking about let me let Lena in. So there are men out here that will go as far as marriage. They will marry a woman for beauty and ignore red flags. There were men that will have children with women ignoring red flags. It'll go that far. You know what I'm saying? Just for that. You know, you want to speak to that, Lady T? And then I'm gonna let Lena come in.
Yeah, that does happen, but then it becomes very complicated. So when you get to that level and it's so much complications, then literally it just ends up rather compromising and dealing with so much nonsense that you don't need to. And because there is a level of suffering, and it usually takes a good amount of time to come out of that type of situation. That's why many ones that end up getting divorced in those aspects end up they'd have to go through a longer healing process afterwards, just because of the chaos that they constructed for themselves by not actually thoroughly observing the partner that they chose.
Absolutely. Lena, how you doing, Lena?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. Good afternoon, everyone on the panel and in the comments.
All right.
Prompt says, "Are men choosing beauty over red flags?"
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Lena.
Yes. I'm sorry. I was thinking on my answer.
Oh, okay.
I think overall, I think yes. I think some men can be very focused with beauty over a woman's character. Now, I have found that since I've been going live since 2024, I've talked to men who have been divorced. And I don't know what it is, but I couldn't even tell you how many of them I've talked to that have been divorced. I lost count at this point. But almost every single one did not want the divorce. And I think about, man, for you to be the type of man where you would fight for your marriage, what type of woman did you choose? And it's typically what I found is that, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but they typically say that men love a lot harder. Or like their love is a lot less conditional in a sense. And at first I just be like, no, women will love a man through anything. They'll stick it out with him. And then as I started going through these panels, I'm like, all these men saw flaws in these women, but they still wanted to marry them. They still wanted to show them, I can be a good man to you. I can build with you. I can grow with you because you obviously have been
Yeah,
You obviously
it
been through some
happens.
things, right?
I gotta go and
And
get Manuel now.
I they look at it like you obviously been through some things. I want to be better for you. Like I've heard men say, I just really felt sorry for this woman because she didn't have any family, she didn't have any support, and she always talked about how everyone left her, and I just didn't want to be one of those people. And I do think that it's just a big part of them not focusing on the character. I think that sometimes it's just men too can sometimes be in their feelings in a sense when it comes to women. And I don't even know if it's necessary because of the beauty. It's just because of the way that they love.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Let me let Zacchaeus come in. He might be pressed for time. Let me let him get what he got to say in. Zacchaeus, what up, brother?
Hey, what's good, man? What's good? How's everything? Okay?
Good, good, man. You see the topic. I sent it to you last night, so you know what the deal is. What you think, man, on men choosing beauty over red flags? Go ahead.
I would say some. I would definitely have to say some men are doing that because remember we men only go from what they see. But we more focus on beauty is what that's what we see, and we have strong preferences. Where the lady is more emotional, she's more about she they go for they like what they see too. They have preferences too, but we really a lot of us really emphasize on beauty, what we like, what we're attracted to, and what we like. I do. I mean, especially when I was younger, I did that. I focused on that quite a bit because I said, listen, if I get with somebody, I gotta be attracted to her. I have to be. I have to be. I mean, the red flags come afterwards because if she don't have a good character and she don't have a good personality, after the beauty fades away. But the initially we approach a woman because well she looked good. That's what naturally that's what we go for what we like. And if we're attracted to her, we're gonna if she's available, we'll talk. We approach her and we'll talk. But the red flags cannot be ignored, especially when we get older and we're more wiser. It's not we don't just choose for the beauty, we choose for her personality and character. That's what we do. But are men choosing beauty more? I would say half and half. I would say half because I see older dudes way older than me being like, man, looking at a woman, liking her, and despite her personality is not that great, he's still going after her. Yep.
So Zacchaeus, stay right there. So I moved the conversation because we've been on for a while. I moved the conversation to the point of how men will go as far as to marry women. Because at first we were talking about the early stages, but
Yeah.
you have men who was going as far as had children and married women, knowing that there was red flags because of their
Oh
beauty.
yeah. Yes,
Speak to that.
absolutely. Yes, it's true. Yeah. Oh, she's just his type, face, nice shape. That's his type. So he's gonna. So some of these guys would tolerate. They would tolerate her argumentative and bad habits and bad character just so he can be with her. That's a fact. Fifth, you seen it and I seen it. I seen it grow over the years. I seen it. They'll tolerate her terrible behavior, all because it's the way how she looks. They'll tolerate it. And they'll go as far as going on one knee and proposing to her. Yeah, they seen the red flags. Not like they didn't see the red flags, but because of the way how she looks, and that's exactly his type, he'll go for it. He'll go for her. Yes. And that's a
Any
fact. Yeah.
Anybody who hasn't gone want to speak to that, and then y'all could definitely talk it out.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing really fast. I feel like a lot of people love the idea of marriage, but the more important thing is the quality of the marriage you're in. You know, so like people will sacrifice the quality of marriage for superficial things. To your point earlier, Fifth, talking about how, or Zaki, I think he said it too, how like a man will get with a girl who looks really good but had red flags. They'll ignore it because that's Satan's job. You know, Satan's job is to essentially like attack. There's a reason why pornography is so detrimental to society because like he attacks marriage, he attacks intercourse. He makes it like it's perverted, it's flipped on purpose. Okay, that's the most important thing. One of the most important things between us human beings, between a man and woman, you know, is marriage and being fruitful and multiplying, right? But if you ruin the quality of that, you get sexual immorality. You get guys going for girls who look good but don't have good character, and then you have girls going for guys who have money and nothing else. You know, so like that's like the quality of marriage is more important than just getting married itself. You have to make sure that you're getting with a person because the point of marriage is to be long lasting until death. That's the point. But that's not the goal anymore, and because society and the movie industry, music industry glorify sexual immorality, we're not seeing good quality marriages anymore because people are getting married for the wrong reason, or they're getting married just to be the wife, or they're getting married but they're not necessarily wanting to be wives, or they're getting married but not necessarily wanting to be husbands. You know, so I'll say that, and I don't know if that makes any sense. I think it makes sense, but I'll end there.
Here's what I want to add. Because we always talk about how come people don't see the red flags? Why do so many people miss the red flags? That's usually a question that is often proposed when we're having these conversations. And then I'm like, well, how do people actually know what red flags are when society tells you that the red flags aren't red? They paint them over and tell them, hey, this is actually green, right? Isaiah 5:20 talks about they will call evil things good and good things evil. That's the society we live in, right? So we don't see the dysfunction of creating single parent households as dysfunction when we're spiritually blind. We don't see the shacking up as something that is not something of God until we actually know God and we know exactly what his laws are or his commandments are, or just how he tells us that we should live our life, right? We don't know these things unless we abide in him. So when I see a lot of people out here who we talk about we have these conversations about, people, they don't know how to identify red flags. They're always choosing the wrong people. And then yeah, when you don't have Christ in your life and Christ is not the forefront of your life, of course you're going to choose wrong. You don't have parents around, no one else telling you about God and who he is and the purpose that he can serve in your life. Of course you are. So then my question would be to all the people, and this is not towards anyone in here, but to all the people who sit and complain about people who choose wrong, people who don't know how to identify red flags, what are you doing to educate people on what red flags are? That would be my question. Because it's not just for people, it goes deeper than that for me. I don't want to just educate people on what the red flags are. I want to let you know what Christ is like. And Christ gonna let you know how to identify quote unquote red flags. He gonna teach you how to identify those fruits. That's the way I typically see it. And I think that that's something that needs to be touched on more. And this is why I always talk about the importance of faith. It wasn't until I actually found Christ, and then I'm like, oh, okay, so he has the blueprint for us. He already has the blueprint for us. We're just not following him, so we don't know what the blueprint is. We don't have the direction.
Yeah, I mean, so go ahead, Zacchaeus. Go ahead.
Oh yes, and I was just as I was speaking to my daughter too about that too. That the principles of the Word of God, and it's funny that she mentioned that, because I just speaking to my daughter about dating and boyfriends and everything, and I'm a big advocate of teaching our kids about the principles of the Word of God, because it's a roadmap to life, and every time you fall off of following the word of God, you always find yourself in confusion and turmoil. And that's a fact. It's just a simple fact. I just want to add to that. That is 100% true, you know?
Well, I earlier spoke to, and I'm gonna let Lady T respond as well. I earlier spoke to unhealthy compromising. When you compromise your beliefs and go against the very things that you stand on, the morals, the principles, the ethics. When you don't add such things to your standards that Lena's talking about, that's how you ignore red flags. But it may not be all the time. It could be for a season. So when we're in our seasons where we're desperate, we're vulnerable, and we're open to an attack, I mean, these are the kind of things that could happen. And I admitted that, at many stages of our lives that we have maybe ignored some things because we've, stepped outside of the very thing that we shouldn't have, just to let someone to come into our lives, even if it was just for a moment. You know what I'm saying? And there's consequences for that, you know? So that's what I was speaking to earlier. Lady T, you have anything you want to say?
Um, yes, I totally understand when it comes to like God and stuff, because it is God will show your path, and I totally understand that too. But depending on the level of life, at the level that you are at in life, the stage that you're at in life, when it's unfocused, why wouldn't people just look to see what there is, to figure it out? We were taught in this lifetime to look outside of ourselves for everything instead of looking within. And I find that when people are misguided in life, and that's when the unfocus comes, when there's too many distractions that lead to different types of paths in life, and which causes many different types of issues regarding with anything, including relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to ask a question. Because I talked about how men and women will marry each other knowing that they're red flags and stuff. But I know this topic is really specifically just for kind of for men and women to get their perspective if they have witnessed men or men who have done that for them. Lena, I'm gonna ask you a question because I asked Lady T this, and and I respect her answer. Her answer is her answer. Lena, you could answer this or you don't have to. You're not forced to. Have you witnessed a man ignore a once red flag about you because I mean he just was captivated by your beauty or whatever it is that you are to him? Have you witnessed a man just kind of let things slide? With you, maybe not at the moment, but later on, you probably were like, you know what, I was wrong for that. I disrespected that man, and he let that slide. That was wrong. Have you witnessed that, and have you witnessed that also with others? If not you, go ahead.
With myself, I've only been in one relationship, and I have talked to a few people. Man, it's crazy because the men that I've talked to, they called it out. I ain't gonna hold you. Like I've had men I dealt with men with standards who they was like, yeah, I'm not dealing with this, and they left it at that. So Well, it only happened to me once, but typically no. I mean, even with my longest relationship, was with my child's father, he always told me what it was. Now, was I ignoring? I didn't think at the time. I didn't think anything was wrong with the way I spoke, what I did, or whatever. I didn't see it, so of course I rebelled against it and I argued against it. But there was a time where I kind of was like talking to this guy for a while, kind of got attached, and then I kind of like blew up his phone. That's a story for another day. And he told me, like, what is your problem? Why are you doing that? You know? And then that was the last time we ever spoke again. You know, so I typically just that, I mean, besides those two scenarios, I don't know much, but will men do that? Absolutely. I've had homeboys say, I like this girl, even my brothers, I like this girl, I really think she's cute, I can see a life with her, but every time I call her on the phone, or every time it's always something about me spending money, I always have to give her money. She's always this. There's times where I try to talk to her and then she tell me she's busy, she's not this, but then when she needs something, she calls me. Absolutely. I see them do ignore the red flags, or they just skip over and they like, man, I know she this and that. I even had a man where he was like, he kind of like went to this girl's house and it was very filthy, dirty, and nasty, but he was still dealing with her. I'm like, why are you even being with her if you feel like that's the way she lived? You know, but he was just like, he didn't care. He liked her that much. So, yeah.
Nah, that's real. That's real. Beyond earlier mentioned, that in his past, a woman kind of joked a little too much and he let it slide, until he couldn't let it slide no more, you know?
What
So,
do you
so
mean
he,
by joke? Like dark humor joke?
yeah, dark humor joke. Yeah.
Dang, that's a red flag for you?
Beyonder, Beyonder.
No, that's not what it was. It was my fiance, and it was like the first year we were together, and I was explaining that I have a speech impediment, and so she had made fun of it one time, and I let her know immediately, yeah, don't do that again, and she felt bad. I hadn't talked to her for 3 days. I was being dead serious.
Oh, yeah. No, that's different.
Yeah, that's the only time that I've ever checked her as far as like joking wise, because I'm pretty like, I have tough skin. I'm from Connecticut, you know what I'm saying? Like I have family from New York. Like I can handle a joke, but like certain things, like I got bullied for that, so I don't let that slide ever. I don't care who it is. It can be anyone, her dad, like anyone. I don't really care who it is. I'm not letting it. I don't let it go. So she made that joke one time, and I checked her one time, and that was it.
Okay, because like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I get nervous, I laugh a lot or I joke a lot. So like, and it's funny because me and my sister are the same way. Like, we were at my grandma's funeral, and we just couldn't stop laughing because of what we were seeing or certain things that we noticed, right? Not a time or a place, but that's just the way we were. Like, you probably wouldn't be able to tell. Like, we were really sad, but you couldn't be able to tell because we just kind of laughed it off. That's just kind of how we are, though. But I do understand that when it's an insecurity, you don't push on it. Someone's insecurity. I get that.
Yeah, my fault, Beyonder. I had misheard that earlier, but yeah,
No, you're talking. I don't mind humor at all. I've heard the worst jokes as far as like dark humor, and I've heard all of it. None of that bothers me. It's just like there are just certain things in my life that she knows about that I haven't told anyone. So if she were to make like a little joke, it would be an argument right there. It wouldn't even be like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. And that it's the same thing if I do it to her. Because there are things I know about her that no one knows, not even her parents. And so if I made a joke about that, she'd be pissed. So I just like the only thing that I was telling her is like you gotta think before you talk. That was her problem in the beginning, and now we don't have arguments like that anymore. She thinks before she talks, says what she gotta say, and then I'll react to it however I react to it, whether I laugh or not. So that was really a teaching moment to her because at the time I didn't really have I couldn't really maintain frame because I wasn't like that kind of guy back then. I was kind of like young. Well, I'm still young, but like I was younger, I guess. And I let a lot of things like go. I don't like arguing, and I don't really like confronting people about things. I don't like that. But that particular thing, I had to let her go. I had to let her know immediately. Otherwise, it would have gotten worse, and I wouldn't be with her because she would have kept making jokes about it.
Yeah.
No, I know that
So
men value respect. So I know that respect is a big thing. So I definitely get that. That's understandable.
yeah, that's true. Sam Sarah, welcome back to the panel. It's been a while. How you doing, Sam Sarah?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are you guys?
Good, good. You see the
Hello,
prompt?
hello.
I did
Are men
indeed.
are men choosing beauty over red flags? Your take?
I definitely think so. When a man sees a beautiful woman, he goes bonkers and then the downstairs gets activated and then the rest is history. And I do find that that is most of the time what happens. And I think it's also because of the standards of women feeling insecure, of trying to compete with each other, trying to feel beautiful, because that's all they're seeing. They're seeing the supermodels and, all those social media posts. And so women get insecure. So then they start doing Botox, they start doing this and that. So yeah, I do agree that they're choosing beauty over the red flags.
Mm. And obviously, this question is not like a one size shoe fits all. It's not all. It's not an absolute, but I would say definitely. And many times we've done that, and I will admit that I have done it in certain instances. It may not, gotten very far, but in certain instances I've done it. I think every man on the panel can be honest and admit that at some point in their life there is something that they've shouldn't have let happened. But then in the long end, we suffered the consequences for it. And that's the whole point. And what do
Indeed.
what do you do after the consequences? Obviously, you don't do the same thing again and you get back on your purpose. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Absolutely.
right. So Zacchaeus, you there?
Hey, what's good, man? I'm just driving over here. Yeah, what's good, man?
Okay, now you know me and you, we podcast together. By the way,
Yeah.
for everyone, the latest episode of Mrs. Ian Fifth is up on the YouTube channel at Phil General TV on the graphic at the bottom for those who are watching.
Yeah, check it out. Yeah.
So we talk about relationship topics all the time. We talk about what happens when you make an unhealthy compromise. Tell the panel what happens when a man makes unhealthy compromises just for how the woman looks and what the woman can actually provide on a transactional level. Go ahead, Zacchaeus.
Yeah, let me tell you something. When that happens, you're unhappy. You leave yourself unhappy and unsatisfied. In other words, you're pleasing her.
Zacchaeus. Oh man, he was cooking too. Zacchaeus, you went out.
Can I ask you a question while he's on hold?
Yeah, go ahead.
So if there was a woman that was less attractive, then would you go for her then if she had like a good heart and all that, or she ticked all the other boxes? And would you compromise that a little bit?
Yes.
One second. 1 second. Hold that thought. Zacchaeus, you back?
Oh yes, I'm back. Yep.
Hey, go ahead. You was cooking, man. Go ahead. And I'm gonna get to Sam Sarah's question. Go ahead, Zacchaeus.
Yeah, so when you try to please her and appease her and leave yourself just unhappy, just to please her, you do yourself a disservice, a big time. And I'm sure many people can agree with that, what I'm saying, because many times you make all the sacrifices. You see red flags, but you still ignore it because it's the sacrifices you're making. You're bending backwards and going beyond the call of duty, and the very thing that you enjoy doing, you push it aside because you're trying to appease her, and you're trying to compliment her gifts, or like her what's it called? What do you call that thing again? Like you tried to make her happy as much as possible, and then you realize that oh well, I'm just doing everything I can to appease her and to make sure that she's good, but I'm leaving myself. I'm depleting what I enjoy doing and what God has put me out there to do. I'm not fulfilling my purpose because I'm trying to appease her, and when you do that, you do yourself a disservice, big time. So, you hear people say, well, as long as you make her happy, that's good. But you also got to understand that when you do that, you do yourself a disservice. Whether you're doing all the supporting, but she's not supporting you in what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish, and you see certain things. Every time you try to do something, it's always an argument. It's always a pushback. But every time she's trying to do something, you go beyond the call of duty to appease her and to please. And that you don't want to do.
You know what that sounds like, Zacchaeus? That sounds like happy wife, happy life.
Yes. It don't sound like happy house, happy spouse.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Sam Sarah, for the panel, can you ask your question again?
Yes. So basically, I was asking if the woman's less attractive, would you guys go for her if she ticked the other boxes?
Beyonda, you were answering. Go ahead, Beyonda.
Said yes, because I'd rather have someone who's not as attractive but has a better personality versus someone who's seen as a 10 but she's terrible. So yeah, I definitely would.
I think that we know that attractiveness is subjective. But when it comes to someone's looks and I think that, especially for those of us in the body of Christ, it is okay to want and desire someone who is attractive to your preferences, as long as you are not making sure that is the only thing that is keeping you with this person, right? Or if that's the strongest thing, right? So outside of physical attraction, is the attraction there mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically? And when I say physically, I mean like the physical connection. So outside of the appearance, the attraction to the appearance, how strong are the other connections? If you feel like you cannot connect with someone spiritually and mentally, right off the bat, I think that no matter how attractive they is, you shouldn't even continue to pursue them. The issue is we tend to try to give people grace where they do not deserve it. The definition of grace is giving forgiveness to people who are undeserving of it. And when I'm speaking on this point, what I mean is we want to give people grace and be like, you know what? He's not a hardworking man. He doesn't have a job. He doesn't have the motivation to get a job. He doesn't have a vision, but maybe he can grow and then all of a sudden become ambitious and have a desire to lead and provide. I'm going to give him grace. That's not where you give grace. You may give grace and say, you know what? His teeth right now may be throwing up gang signs, but that's nothing but an easy fix. We can get a dental provider and get him some braces. That's where you give grace. He may not have the teeth that I'll usually like my man to have, but he has the heart. So it's kind of like You know what I'm saying? That's what I feel like when it comes to physical attraction. Do I need to think that you fine? Yeah, to my eyes. You ain't gotta be fine to the world. But that's just my opinion.
Well, to answer Sam Sarah's question, I don't care what a woman is. And when I mean is, I mean her accomplishments, collegiate accomplishments, the money that she makes, um, uh, the things that she presents, the things that she perceives. Um, if she has unbecoming behavior, I'm not going for it. So if a woman is less attractive, right? I mean, I want to at least be still attracted to her physically. So I'm not gonna pick a ugly woman who has all the good things that checks off all the other boxes that you were talking about. But like Beyonce said, she doesn't have to be a 10. And I don't believe in tens. I don't believe in tens. I don't believe in that. But as far as I go as a 9. But no, she doesn't have to be uh the most attractive show stopping woman on the planet. Um, she could, be average, right? And a lot of people don't think they're average, but average just means most. She could be, if she has all the other things going on and I find her attractive, emphasis on me, right? Because if I find her attractive, then that's me. That's my woman. I don't care what anybody else says. But if she checks off all the other boxes without listing all of them and not being long-winded, then yes, of course. Zacchaeus, same question. But you're already married, but you can answer it anyway. Um, a woman doesn't, Sam Sarah's question, the woman doesn't have to be a perfect score or whatever in the looks department, but if she checks off every box that you got and what your boxes, what you want, what you stand for, if she checks off all of that and she's just decent looking or whatever, would you take that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yes. That's a big YES. Why I say the big YES? Because like what the Temptation song sing, beauty's only skin deep. Yeah, yeah. So beauty eventually it's not the end all do all. Is her content of her character. And if we're compatible, the compatibility factor, and also how we are with each other. What I mean, how we are with each other, do we enjoy each other? Do we enjoy each other's company? Do we like being together? Do I like you? Do you like me? Do we love each other? Or are we in love with each other? Do we respect each other? Do we support each other? Those are the big factors. Those are the little things you see even before you get married. Those are the little things that you see. That is extremely attractive. The beauty is one thing, but those other characteristics, those other traits are extremely attractive. And I believe a lot of y'all could agree to that. A lot of y'all could agree to that. So yeah, that's my take on it. Yes.
Yeah, Lady T, you've been quiet. You have any things to comment on what the fellas have said?
Sorry, I'm just listening. I'm just listening. I just find I was just talking quite a bit before, so I was just allowing everybody else to talk.
It's okay. It's okay. You and Sam Sarah. This was Sam Sarah's question. You have anything to comment about what we said? Because it was your question.
Oh, when she was talking about would a man accept a woman that is less pretty but has all the factors?
Uh-huh.
Well, of course, because it's beauty that's eye in the beholder. So really and truthfully, like when it comes down to it, everybody else's eyes looking at beauty is totally different. So if they do have more attributes and more abilities and they have more inner, to give in personality and connection and all that other stuff, it is more likely will work out better than one that just goes for one specific thing. So, of course.
Well, I discussed earlier that, looks may get your foot in the door, but they don't keep you. And so, me, I'm a man of substance. I don't just make all my decisions based off how a woman looks. It's got to be a lot deeper than that. And there's a lot of things that I'm not impressed by because long term, because I'm thinking about the long term. And then, I value respect more than anything, because I have respect for myself. And so there's a lot of things that, and this is not knocking women, but there's a lot of things that women do that are good, to their benefit, but not to me. So if there's going to be, if it's not going to best suit the relationship and be a proper foundation to what we're building, then, that's not something that I'm going to want, because there are a lot of things that we may tout and brag about, but that doesn't tell you how good of a wife you're going to be. That doesn't tell you, on the man's side, that doesn't tell you how good of a husband you're going to be. There are a lot of things that we do out for ourselves, but what are they contributing to the relationship? Sam Sarah, you came off mute. You had anything to say?
What does that mean to you? What does a good wife mean exactly?
Okay. So let me kind of break it down this way. I'm gonna tell you what's not going to determine whether you're a good wife or not. So if a woman tells me that she has this, great salary, okay, you have a great salary. What else? You know what I'm saying? What else? Because that's good, but what else? You have this great career. Hey, congratulations. I'm rocking with that. What else? But if you're not caring, if you're not sharing, if you're not respectful, if you're not kind, if you're not courteous, if you're not supportive, and I'm not talking about financially supportive, if you're not supportive, if everything is about what you do and what only helps you, then that's good for you. But when you're coming into a relationship, a marriage is about serving each other. It's both people coming to the table and serving each other. Does anybody else want to speak to that?
Okay, I'm still confused. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the relationship dynamic seems to be completely messed up these days. There's no such thing as love, there's no such thing as anything. So, what I'm asking you is, what is the solution to this dynamic? Because there was the old school values that were in once upon a time, and it doesn't seem to work right now because not a lot of people follow them. Because even if we're simple people right now, our simple is not what simple was back in the days, meaning a housewife versus a man that goes out and provides. So now most of us, we all work, right? Men and women. So I'm just trying to understand, because what happens is a lot of men expect a woman to do all the house stuff. So even when she's working. So I'm trying to understand how people, who has what kind of role in what dynamic.
Can I ask you something, Sam? And I think Beyonda wants to go and Lena wants to go. Can I ask you something, Sam?
Go for it.
What dynamic do you want?
What dynamic do I want? I'm actually open-minded to both dynamics, to working and also if I'm like working and sharing the household load or being a housewife. I'm open to both, to be honest.
Okay. So then your dynamic is going to be different from others. And that should be the dynamic that you should stay in your dating pool. I don't know if you're married right now, but that would be the dynamic that you would want to stay in. I mean, if there's a particular program that you're willing to um, become a part of, then wouldn't you only do that for the man that aligns with that?
Definitely. Alignment is very important.
Okay. Lena, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, because I hear that a lot, especially for women. I think that they kind of look at what's put out on social media about other people's like marriages or relationships, or maybe they see it happen in their own families and things like that. And they say, wow, well, this woman is married, but she has no help. And they even have this term now where they call it married single mothers, right? Where they talk about women who are married, but they still are technically a single mother because they're having to carry on the load all by themselves. They're having to work, come home and cook, clean, and take care of their children. And I think that the observation is a good observation to have, to say, you know what, I would not want that. If I'm going to be married to a man, I want him to be hands-on with the children. I want him to be, involved into the lives, not put this much on me. But the thing I don't want women to do is to think that your situation will end up like that. Because like you asked her, what dynamic do you want? If you know that's not something you're willing to put up with, when you're vetting a man, ask him, what do you believe the role of the husband is? What do you believe the role of the wife is? Because if he tells you, I believe that the role of a wife is to cook, clean, have sex with me when I want it, bear the children, also still go to work and contribute to the house, that may be a flag for you and say, you know what? Thank you for your time. Thank you. But I'm no longer going to pursue this as a relationship. That's not for me. Right? That's something that can be understood early on. Or even when let's say, like, people always say, well, people lie. They don't always tell the truth. Well, you continue to have conversations that let them know as you are going through courtship and you're building and getting into marriage, and you guys have that conversation surrounded by finances. Hey, have a conversation. Hey, we just got married. If we get married, how soon are you looking to have children? Like, are you going to be able to afford for me to stay at home with our children, maybe for the first year or maybe first few years of their life, so we don't have to put them in daycare? These are very important conversations to have when you're vetting someone, and would prevent people from being in these situations. That's what I wanted to say to that, because like you say, the people talk about the old school way doesn't work anymore. And I do kind of agree with that. I think that we do live in a society where both adults need to be contributing to the household. But one thing I always say is that, with whoever my future partner may be, I want to come in working and contributing and providing. Why? Because that's going to help us, right? Whatever his vision is, right, that he has for this, it's going to help contribute to savings, retirement accounts, investments, and things like that. I still want to have babies. I don't want to have to go back to work after having a baby. So in order for that to need to be done, I need to have enough savings where not only we can afford this child, but I can also be able to be at home and be comfortable without my husband struggling financially to provide for the house. So these are things that you can do. Maybe in the beginning of your marriage, you may work maybe 3 to 5 years. You guys are working, saving, and being financially disciplined. And then you could go to being a stay-at-home mom until maybe you guys want to wait till your kids are kindergarten age, right? And put them into school and things like that. Or maybe you just want to say, you know what, I want to homeschool them for the rest of their lives. Okay, well, if that's the case, is there anything that you can do at home that will bring income? Right? You see single moms who are on TikTok. They're teaching about homeschool courses and things like that. You can monetize your TikTok account, right? Can you get some domestic animals? Can you get some chickens and things like that? Can you start selling eggs, right? Growing vegetables, things like that. That's another way you can bring income in as a stay-at-home mom. And then you're also teaching your kids how to care for these animals and give them chores around the house. Certain things can be thought of and how you can still contribute while also still doing your duty as a stay-at-home mom, and then also still contributing to the house. So I think it's just about you and your husband or your future husband or whoever you're vetting being on the same page of how you want to be together as husband and wife and what type of dynamic you want to have.
Well said. Well said. Anybody else want to add to that? Is anybody there?
Here.
All
That
right.
was awesomely said. That
Yeah.
was so awesomely said. And the thing is a lot of times people don't do the planning beforehand. They just jump in and they just try to figure it out after the fact. And like, there's so many like important things when it comes to a relationship, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to all that stuff, especially when it comes to planning for the future. And I think that's one very important thing, even when you're in the engagement part, before you're getting into the actual doing the marriage and making plans, it should be beforehand, so that you have a steady path to go on and that you can understand what it is, the dynamics, and society has changed. So our inflation rates are it's very expensive way of living now. And like, before, it was the man could work and the woman could stay home, or vice versa. But nowadays you usually need two incomes coming in, or two people literally having multiple jobs just to be able to get by, unless they have the like a they're doing the investments and they have like a big career, and they have one of those type of jobs that bring in a good amount, yearly. But it's really important, especially when you want to expand it in the future and like make a future with the person, is to do the fourth planning beforehand.
Yeah, and I wanted to add something. Sorry, Fifth, you know how I get, because I'm going to be on a mute for a while here. But one thing I want to say is this is why typically on my panel I often talk and ask ladies, what value are you going to bring to your marriage as a woman? What value do you have? Because as a single woman, how are you working on yourself, or how are you going to add value to yourself so that you can bring something to this marriage? Okay, like he said, it's one thing for you as a woman to be a high earning woman, but how is that going to help, right? What type of skills and knowledge do you have that can help him fulfill his purpose? Even if you're a high earning woman, how can you still help your husband fulfill his purpose as a high earning woman? Because a lot of men tend to always speak on the high earning women and say, well, they think that their degrees are this, or they think their degrees are that. But the way that I look at it is saying, like my best friend, right, who had a degree in software engineering. She left her job that paid very well to take a position at a hospital working in the HR department. Why did she do that? Her husband was in medical school to become a doctor. She supported him financially through medical school. So once he actually received his PhD, she was already working in the HR department of the hospital and was able to get him a job at one of the best hospitals within their state. So then once he got the job, you know what he did? Retired her while she was in her 30s. So when we talk about what value are you bringing, right? If you're good, you know how you may have a business degree. That's great, because guess what? He wants to start a business, but he just doesn't know where to start. Good. You know where to start. You went to school for business. You know exactly how to do the research and get this thing running it and off the ground. You know how to do the marketing. You can be of assistance to them. So now you two are not only working side by side, building a business together, but now you guys are working together for your family, right? When it comes to the home buying process, right? Will you guys use a first time home buyer's loan, get a duplex? Maybe you live in one part, rent it out to another. Everyone needs rent right now. A lot of people can't afford to become homeowners. So you rent one of the duplexes out, you and your husband live in it. Maybe the rent is like $1,300. I don't know. I live in Indiana. That's how cheap the real estate is here. You and your husband are possibly splitting rent $1,300, or maybe he's covered it all. You're using your money to save. You guys live in that part of the duplex for 3 years. You guys get the equity from that property. You guys do the HELOC loan and get another property. I mean, you guys I think that while you're single, how are you going to add value to yourself? That would be my question. So that you know what you come to, when they ask, what do you come to the table with? Listen, I've been single for X amount of years, or I've been single for X amount of time, and this is what I've been focusing on. Not only have I been focused on serving Christ and becoming the spiritual partner you would need, but I've also been focused on how I want to build, how I want to grow, how I want to raise my family. So I that's all I have to say.
Can I just
So,
add
so
something?
yeah, real quick, Sam, sorry, let me just say something real quick. Lena, here's the one thing. So all of that was good, and that shows what kind of help that's a helpmate attribute that is good. But what I mentioned earlier into Sam Sarah's question is that what is it beyond the financial? Because there are some things that money can't fix and can't solve. So that's why I was mentioning the internal things, as far as her being caring, sharing, kind, courteous, respectful. These are the things that make you pleasant to be around, not your bank account. And I'm not saying that's all you're saying, Lena, but what I'm saying is I think this is the conversations that when men and women are having, men are saying one thing that's important to them, and women are saying what they think is important to men.
No, spirituality is a big part of it. I think that, like I say, faith is always going to be the best. No matter what, the foundation is always going to be built on God. So if she does not have a relationship with God, if she cannot cover you spiritually, she cannot be an intercessor for you. She doesn't know how to cover you in prayer. If she is very argumentative, right, and she does not see the things that you see things because she's spiritually blind, that's obviously going to cause an issue. So that's why I'm saying you have to, again, Matthew 12:33 talks about being able to know a tree by the fruit it bears. What type of fruit does she bear? That's a question for men to ask yourself. What type of fruit does she bear? What type of fruit do you see in her? That's a very big, important thing. So spirituality should be the main number one thing. When you're courting a woman and you ask her about her faith, you should be able to see her behavior and her attributes align with what she says her faith is. You should be able to see those fruits. That's the number one thing. Anything that I just said, all that I just said, doesn't even matter if the faith does not align.
Absolutely. And in the book of Proverbs, it talks about how a prudent woman comes from the Lord. And so that is something that is also not widely taught in church. But that's Bible. A lot of things that we get is Christianese, but it's not necessarily Bible in our churches. So I definitely feel what you're saying. Sam Sarah, you had to say something. Go ahead.
Yes, I was saying, unfortunately, what's happening these days as well is because women are, making more money or focusing more on themselves financially and whatnot, their careers, they become more masculine, they become more arrogant. So that's actually ruining the whole dynamic of a lot of them not knowing how to actually run a household. So it creates a lot of friction, and that's why you need to find someone you align with. I mean, if it's two people working, then they can do the, household load together. But if it's just the guy, and this is where the men are lacking, because a lot of them don't step up and work on themselves financially or try to understand that if they're going to get married, that those are going to be issues. Because a lot of times there's a lot of arguments based on the finances. So just thought I'd put that out there.
Yeah. Anybody else want to? It's an open conversation. Everybody could talk.
Hey, I'm gonna say something real quickly too to that, to add on to what everybody else is saying. Yeah, man. I mean, that's every aspect is important, but I mean the spiritual realm is important too because what the King Solomon says, all is vanity, vanity, all is vanity. Because I've seen people that have a lot, have everything, have all the picket fence, everything, whole lot, everything. I mean, they have the finances. The finances is there. They have it, and they living well, but their happiness is not within the home. And although they claim to know Christ, the home becomes a disconnection, and there's a big disturbance in the home, a turbulence, because they fell off track. Now, when you allow finance and money to be the end all do all, it does, and you ignore the rest of the realms, the elements that cause a healthy relationship. It does bring a disarray into the household. You know, it really does. There's many stories I've seen it in some of my people that I know, personal lives, that they had it all. But what is the toxic and the unfriendliness and the unkindness of one person that's married to the individual. The characteristic, the character is not good. The very unkind, very unfriendly to be around, and that person left them. That person left them right there with everything, only with just the shirt on his back he left because she was unpleasant to be around. So the spiritual prayer life and spiritual realm is extreme. That's the biggest thing. That should be the number one element of the relationship right there.
Yeah. Was that key to stay right there? A lot of women will, not all, but a lot of women, will say that they're this, they're that spiritually, but they're mean. So the words are the words. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the actions are one thing. You know what I'm saying? And so I wouldn't advise women be with men who are mean and disrespectful and crass all the time.
Of course not. No.
I wouldn't advise that. You know what I'm saying? I would speak against that. Go ahead,
But they're
Beyond.
turned on by that, though. I said, but they're turned on by that, though. Unfortunately, the men that are rude and crass, that is definitely something that they won't see. There's a dark nature about men, and there's a dark nature about women, right? Women will say a lot of times a political correct thing that they should be into, but then what they're actually turned on isn't anything what they said, So like a woman's words and their actions are two different things, and the same thing goes for men too.
Anybody could comment on that if they want to. I see the comments.
I said I don't agree with that. I agree with what you're saying that a lot of women do go for the bad guys, but I don't think that's attractive at all personally. Spiritual?
I don't know what to say to that one. Sorry. Usually most people. Do you know that I've seen lots of different women go for the what do they call it, the bad man? And most times they want protection. They want to feel protected. They want to feel like there's rather the high energy of it or whatever it is. But the thing is that most times women, they want to be protected by a man. They don't. Then they probably have come across a lot of men that act weak around them. And just like how when girls are raised and they become into adulthood and stuff, they had their father to protect them. That's when they're looking for a man. They want a man that will, to be their shield, their protection when they feel, when they're sick, or when they're not feeling well, or they're having a bad day, or they've gone through some stress. Like, they want a man to be nurturing, but also to be protective, especially like when they're out on, they're outside and they are dealing with situations of really bad people. Like, is the man going to stand up for you and protect you, or, get you out of the way? Or is he going to huddle behind the woman or run? Like, so I find it just, it depends on the dynamics that what a woman is like really wants. And it's also the scope of men that they have endured and are around. Sometimes they don't realize outside of the scope there could be so much better men. So that's how my point of view of that is.
I was just gonna say that, like, a lot of women, from my experience, aren't going to be honest about what they're aroused by, because they might get looked at like, like they might get like weird looks, or like a woman, they care about their image, that's why, like, if you ask a woman their body count, they're going to be hesitant to say what it is, because they know that even on a subconscious level that their body count can disqualify them for certain men if it is too high. Like, they're not going to like there are things that you just, like, women don't like being asked their age because they think it's rude, and they don't like being asked their body count. So, like, a lot of women aren't going to be honest about what they're aroused by. And they say, oh, I want a nice guy who opens the door and all that stuff. Like, yeah, they might say that, but, like, they usually attract, the bad guys and the ones that talk to them crass and rude. I'm not saying that you guys are doing that. I'm saying that a lot of girls do move that way in this day and age, in the year 2026.
I think it all depends on your environment. Depends on your environment and what you're used to, and what's within and what you're projecting outwards. They say that you are your environment and the people you keep, and the scope of people that are around. So if you come across a lot of different ones that are rather too weak for you, or too wicked for you, or you have the bad man, or you have whatever it is, you could feel lacking within, you're going to situate yourself with the certain options of what's, like, in the scope. And many people don't look on it like outside. Well, when it comes to like social media, you're able to actually communicate more with people out of the country, in different countries, to actually get a good, knowledge base of where men's heads at and women's heads at. But before the internet, we only did within our community and the people that we knew and what those people knew. So I just find it just depends on each person's circumstance. Because if you are like literally living in a rough ass neighborhood and you are living there, you become tough yourself. But many women are still going to go with a toughy type of man if they're living in a real wrong type of neighborhood, because they want to be protected. They want someone that's going to stand by. If they're in a good community and it's flourishing and people are well about their career sets and, they're about being successful and stuff like that, your surroundings are totally different. You have security. You have more different people, like less crime, less everything that is in the scenario. So I guess it just depends on like where you're at and, your environment that you're in.
Yeah, but that's a bad argument. I'll tell you why. If I sell crack, right, I get pulled over by the cops and they say, hey, why do you sell crack? Well, I say, well, because of my environment. I'm still going to jail. So, like, no matter what environment you're in, you still have choices to make in your environment. I grew up in the hood myself. I didn't perpetuate stereotypes and do dumb stuff to go to jail. No, I stayed in school and I stayed away from trouble. So I wasn't defined by my environment. I was defined by the choices that I made. And what I'm saying is that people these days make a lot of choices that are dumb, and it ends them in bad situations, whether or not they grew up in a nice neighborhood or bad. It depends on choices you make. Now, your environment can influence your choices. That's true. But at the end of the day, it's still your choices. A wise man told me once that when you're born, you resemble your parents, but when you die, you resemble your choices. So it is depending on, no matter what environment you're in, choices you make, no matter who influenced them or what influenced them, it's still on you.
But do you know that there's only a small percentage of people that actually are not manipulated by the environment? There's many people that are, and they're influenced, and they're very easily influenced. So what I'm just stating is there's, yeah, I get your point, because there are many that don't get influenced by their environment, but there is many that are.
That's true, but that's still
And I'm not saying that you have to go do something that's going to get you a criminal record and all that other stuff, and just because the environment, but we're talking about relationships and safety and the viewpoints of like what a woman is going to look for. She's going to look for safety over certain things,
Yeah, and
And
I
I'm
hear
not
where
saying
you're.
all women will. Some women stand on their own 2 feet and become rough and tough and, defend ourselves. But what I'm saying is there's in certain aspects that many times that the environment can cause a big difference to a person's success rate. The environment and the people, because they say if you have 5 to 10 people around you and they're very lazy and lazy minded, and they just, project and stuff like that, it's going to be very hard for you to be able to go forward. You can try to come out of the neighborhood, but you still have to deal with it.
And I agree with that. But at the end of the day, and I give grace to people that are younger, like they're growing up with that you get grace. But when you're an adult, you still have choices you make. So if you're around people that are lazy and you're 25, 26, 30, or 40, there really isn't an excuse anymore because you're too old to be influenced by that stuff. You have a decision to make. You either stay in that position or you move out of it. And it's hard, but at the end of the day, it's still a choice to be made. And you have to make that choice every day or lack thereof.
But here's the issue with what you're saying. It's all fine and fair, exactly what you're saying, but many people and most people are unhealed. Okay, we don't really heal 100%, but most people refuse to do the work, and that's where the issue is.
And I agree with that. I'm not placing judgment on people who make those choices because, I get it. I've made bad choices too, but I think someone asked me earlier, if a woman was traumatized from their youth, would you take on that woman? And I say I don't have to because that's not
Mr. Unknown said
problem.
that.
Huh? Mr. Unknown said that? Yeah. He asked me a question. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have to. I'm not judging that woman for having the trauma or whatever, but I don't have to take on her past. I don't have to. I'm not obligated as a man to take on her trauma. Same way a woman can choose to date a short man or not. I'm not gonna date him because he's too short or he looks like women have standards. I have standards too. So I don't have to take on. No, I don't care where you grew up. I care about who you are now. So if you had problems when you were younger, but you're now 27 and still saying, oh, well, when I was younger, I had this problem. Okay, that's cool, but I don't have to deal with that. And it's not being judgmental. It's me just being real. You talking to me? Yeah. Yeah. I just was too lazy to get out of it. Well, yeah. So I knew reality reminded me. Well, yeah. So I knew reality reminded me of my poor choices. I had working a lot of time to do it. But then I did it because I couldn't stand being in the same headspace and completely depressed all the time.
Did it take time of like different mistakes to figure that out?
Um, I mean, a little bit, yeah. It took a couple, maybe like 2 years after like I made the decision to work on being healed. It took a little bit of time, yeah. And I'm still like going through it, but at least I know I'm pretty modest myself, and I like, I take accountability for what I do and don't do. So it's really up to me whether or not I want to get better or not. That's how I view it. I'm not saying that I'm not imposing my will on other people. I'm just saying that if you look at the big picture, if you're an adult and you have a job and making money and you have your own apartment and stuff, you're pretty much responsible for all the things you do or don't do. I'm not talking about like people who are growing up or teenagers or still going through like puberty or like going through like their identity. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about like grown adults that are like in their 30s and 40s. I can't hear anybody if anyone's talking.
1 second, my
No,
son
you're
has come
fine.
home.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Something happened with TikTok. I thought my live went out, but no, I'm here.
Fifth, what do you think? Did I say anything too crazy, or what's your opinion on what I've said so far? I don't think I said anything too crazy.
Nah, I may have. So, man, I'm leaving the house now, right? So when I had gotten in the whip, for some reason, my live the app closed out, so I didn't hear some of that.
Was
But I did
was it
hear. Yeah, go ahead.
the disconnection between the Wi-Fi and the data? It usually happens when it comes to TikTok.
That's probably what happened because I'm leaving. Yeah, that's probably what it was.
So the next time when you're leaving house, what you do
Uh,
is you literally switch it over so you don't have both. Like, so for example, if you're on the Wi-Fi originally and you need to go out somewhere, what you do is put the data on and then you go and you take off the Wi-Fi so that it stabilizes the connection and then you leave so that it doesn't do that blips because it can like totally kick you out of the TikTok and all that other stuff.
yeah, you're right. All right. So, beyond I'm sorry. I had missed like probably like 2 minutes of that when that happened. Um, but I think y'all were talking about. Um, I know you earlier talked about how there are women out here who will kind of like accept maybe some things or what they may be attracted to, and you basically stated that you're not saying all, but you know that there's some, and then y'all were talking about environments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So just to add to what he was saying is that many people take a good amount of time to figure out what healing is, and they make a lot of different types of mistakes first, and then they go through a healing process once they figure it out that they just can't put up with whatever outcomes that they've had, and then they go through a healing process and they evaluate themselves and then they elevate themselves. So different people, everybody thinks differently, and different ones will sometimes take longer than others. Some will take some take 2 years, some take 5 years. Some people are just stuck in what they're used to and they don't know any difference. So I've come across many different people. So usually I don't put it as excuse. Yes, when it comes to an adult, we should be an adult, but the thing too is that sometimes people get used to the scenarios and the life patterns that they have accumulated and they don't see outside the box of it. And that they usually need some type of different environment or different people to show them a different way. Or they get sick and tired of dealing with their scenario and they literally aren't put their foot down and decide that they need a change.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. What you just said to a T. And to use a more extreme like example, like people who go to schools and shoot up schools. I mean, they are not healed people, And yeah, we can go ahead and say they may have had mental health problems and didn't heal, and we can give them grace in that regard, but it doesn't take away the fact that they still killed like 5 kids, and they still have to be held accountable for what they did.
But do you know what ends up happening in those scenarios is that something in that person's life has failed. And I'm not giving
Right,
people excuses for that extreme. What I'm
right.
saying is that if there was prevention beforehand, those things would not go to an extreme.
Yeah,
So
I agree with
most
that.
times people go through mental illness and they go and they're in the quiet. They're people don't know. They're not getting the support, they're not getting the help, they're not getting the therapy, they're not getting anything. Many times they're even bullied and they're literally in silent suffering, and then it goes to an extreme. So prevention
Of
over,
course.
you know, is
Yeah, of
is
course.
is
I'm all
is is,
about
is what so so that those situations don't occur.
yeah,
But
I'm all
many
about the
things get
conversation.
slid under the rug, and then they're like, well, you know, this and this, and everybody can blame it on something. But when it comes down to it, our communities lack in so many aspects that they have forgotten of how community should have been, like how we were raised. Like back in the day, community, they said community is to raise a child, you know? We look out for each other. In this day and age, it's not like that. So, prevention is what it needs to be, and things need to be fixed when it's happening, not when things are of an extreme. Many times things are not fixed is when extremes happen, and then they want to find a solution for it, instead of recognizing all the different things that lead up to it.
You know,
And
I
that's
agree
in
with that.
life in general. Many people wait until their back is against the wall to fix something, when they should have just recognized that the way that it was going in the first place is not what they should have done, and started fixing it from the beginning.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I used the extreme example because I wanted to backtrack to the whole relationship aspect of it, like if a woman is in a certain environment and she values protection, she might go for a guy that, yeah, he's not a good guy, but he can offer protection. Maybe he is into some stuff like, selling drugs or whatever. And I totally get it. But at the same time, though, it's like, you know, there has to be some type of like, how do I say it? It's not necessarily like putting blame on the woman for making the choice, but if she gets in the mix of what that guy is doing, she's guilty by association. So, like, sometimes it may seem like the only option or whatever, but I mean, we have to kind of like have a little bit of common sense. Not with anyone here in the panel, obviously, because you guys aren't into that kind of stuff. But I mean, people should just know, just based off of common sense, that you live by the sword, you die by the sword type stuff. So if you're getting involved with the guy that's doing that, I mean, you shouldn't expect a good outcome from that, no matter what environment you're in.
True. But the thing in
Let me,
life, go ahead.
let me kind of like, uh, you know what? You finish your thought, and I'm gonna come in and move the conversation. All right, go ahead, Lady T.
So what I was gonna say is that many people go through all different types of failures in life, and mistakes, and you name it, and they're figuring out life, and then they go on a good path or a bad path or different things. Some people do it backwards, and and they finally realize it. But I'm just saying, like, many times it's not just common sense. Sometimes it's just what life has forked to them. Not everybody grows up in the greatest home. Some people don't have the greatest mentors. Some people don't have the greatest parents. Some people do have the greatest parents. But if you look on the success rate, it's usually when it's a very supportive home, when it's very guided and loving parents, when it's, what do you call it? Mentorship and guided by amazing people, and solely truly to understand self. But when you're misguided or you're treated badly, you have to rather go and rise up and figure it on your own, and eventually rise up because you have the intellect, and you raise your EQ and you just figure things out yourself. Or you end up coming across many amazing people that can help you rise to be the best, So most times it's not really common sense. It's just sometimes life can really give a lot of different people the really, you know, bad, situations that they were born into.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of like go this route, right? Since we're like heading towards the end of the stream, and I'm actually end it a little sooner because the algorithm has not been very kind to me today, but it's all good. But shout outs to everyone who has supported the stream today and everyone on the panel. I want to thank you for that. So here's where I kind of want to go to, right? So beauty over red flags. I mentioned when I started the stream that beauty fades. Beauty fades. God forbid, somebody gets into a car accident, glass shatters in their face, or even takes away their their mobility to walk. You know, what do you do then? What is going to be the very thing that's going to sustain you when you're in a such a situation, relationship? Because we all know that red flags can get ignored during an actual relationship. You know, so what is anybody's opinion on that? And then I'll get the E after y'all answer. Okay, hold tight, E.
Sorry, I had a phone call. That's my fault. Oh, what was the last part again? My fault.
No, I was saying that we all know that looks fade. When we put so much emphasis on beauty and ignore, red flags and stuff like that as men, looks fade. God forbid somebody gets into a car accident and glass shatters in their face, or they just can't walk anymore. What's going to be the very thing that's going to sustain that relationship?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. When you put your all of your eggs in one basket, you will eventually become heavily disappointed. Like if a woman is with a man for money, and that man loses the money, that whole thing is over. That they're not going to be together for a long time. When you put your faith in things that are fleeting, you're never going to have a happy ending. That's pretty much what it is. So you have to put your faith in things that are everlasting, and the only person or only being that offers everlasting things would be the one above, who sent his son to die for our sins. So, that's what happens in society. We chase after the things that really don't matter. And eventually we're going to just be sitting there with all the things we wanted, the money, the whatever, but you're still going to feel empty. So, all it provides at the end of the day is emptiness. So you have to fill our things with things that matter, like love and respect and compassion, like Samsara said, and things that, are everlasting and things that actually provide happiness and joy.
Lady T, Samsara.
Well, I wrote it in the comments. We need a little patience, kindness, compassion, respect, honesty, transparency. These things tend to go missing, I find, in many relationships.
Lady T.
I agree with Samsara on that one. The thing is that going on deeper levels, it should be a loving care for the person and respect, loyalty, and so much more. Observation of your partner, as much to observe and to understand your partner. And I find many relationships, they don't truly understand their partner. They are looking more so of what their feelings are and not, but then that goes toward improving your EQ as much as IQ, right? But when it comes down to it is being there and to understand what your relationship, what kind of relationship that you both are wanting for the future and to build, or you guys got, like, you figure it out together, and that's what is the most important thing, is love, care, understanding, respect, compassion, and all those good things, and everything else works itself out because those are making the steps forward together.
All right, E, welcome back, E.
Hello.
All right. What are your thoughts on the prompt? Are men choosing beauty over red flags? Your thoughts?
I don't think men are choosing anything, to be honest. I think a lot of men have decided to opt out of the dating scene and marriage scene as well. I think a lot of men are starting to really wake up, and they're starting to be like, you know what, like, we're just really over this shit. A lot of them are starting to raise their standards, their self-esteem. They're starting to see the BS that's being pushed around to these young men. And a lot of these, oh my God, literally, I hate. Okay, I'm not gonna say it, but I don't. Okay, yeah. So I think a lot of men are they're just done. So that's what I think. I think they'd rather stay single before dating a lot of these young women, and I agree. I wouldn't date a lot of them either. A lot of them are horrible, very, very misled, very misguided. A lot of them are just angry for no reason. A lot of them are very manipulative. They like to gaslight people. A lot of them have high standards that they can't even put against their own life. I mean, it's really sad, and I feel for, a lot of these young men, especially my brother, because I couldn't do it, and I really do feel bad for him. So that's what I think. I don't know, but yeah.
Hey, does anybody want to respond to E's opening statement? Agree or disagree?
I think it goes both ways. I think it's hard for both men and women these days to find the right person for themselves. In certain ways, men don't make it easier and women don't make it easier in other ways. So, like, a lot of women tend to be gold diggers, for example. They go after the money, right? So that's an issue there. And then a lot of men want, they want a housewife. They want her to look pretty and perfect, but at the same time, there's a lot of possessiveness. There's a lot of controlling nature. There's a way you talk to a woman. There's a way you talk to a man. And I think if people know how to talk to each other and understand each other better, then it would, and, go in with kindness, compassion, it would be a much better place.
Yeah, I would say, my best advice is one of two things: either don't date or date, somebody within the same gender as you, because I feel like that's where it's gonna head to. Because it just seems like it's just weird, because it just seems like there's always these problems. It's either it's a dude's fault, it's a woman's fault. So at this point, either date each other or just don't date, because I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I really don't. And the thing is like, you are what you attract, and I so heartedly believe that. Like, a lot of people that complain about these men and these women out here, like, you are literally the same fucking way. Like, you're literally the exact image of what you're talking about. So that's what I
Now,
believe.
now, E, you know better than to curse on my platform, all right? Just watch it, okay? You could talk, but just don't curse.
Yeah, right. So I believe that, you are what you attract. So if you can't find a high value, good man, then more than likely you're not a high value woman. And that's just what I think.
Hey, Beyonda, you got anything to say? I'm gonna go after you because I do have something to say.
No, you got it.
All right. So E, you brought up high value. Um, is that the only option?
What do you mean?
Well, you brought all you said was high. Well, you brought up high value. If you're not a high value, if you're not going to get a high value man, then you said then that means you're not a high value woman, right?
Oh
Or
yeah,
did I hear that wrong?
no, yeah, I believe that 100%.
Okay, so what is high value? That could be a term that could be kind of vague. What's high value to you? What does that mean?
My siblings, my family, but like to go more in depth, like my sisters are very high value. They're extremely intelligent. They have a lot of high morals, high values, and high standards, and they have really, really, really good really high and good boundaries. A lot of them know what they want and what they're looking for. They're not indecisive. They're very mature in all aspects of their life. They don't follow the trends. They don't follow the majority. A lot of them are very traditional. They want to be wives. They want to be housewives. They want to stay home and take care of the kids, nurture. They want to do that. They don't do what society tells them to do. Hey, you know what? Go outside and go be a boss and a CEO. Go get the bag. No. Because the thing is like one thing that my family does is we see 10, 15 years down the road. And unfortunately, a lot of these young women that are pushed to go be bosses, go be the CEO, a lot of the young women, like a lot of them are going to be led down a very dark and deep path because yes, yes, they can get money. Yes, you can go be a boss and CEO, but a lot of the women that are doing that, they're not happy. They're not happy within themselves. They're not happy within their lives. And a lot of them are having a very hard time finding a man, keeping a man. And it's really sad because, like, especially in our community, they believe that if you go get a career, if you go get the money, then go get a man. But it's not happening like that. But that's just what I believe. Like that's high value to me is my family and my sisters.
Are you also including high earning?
Well, yeah,
Okay,
sure.
so speak to that. Only because high value is something that I didn't hear until Kevin Samuels, right? That term used in that way. Although he didn't create that term, but it's something that had been used during his time. And anytime he mentioned high value, within that was also high earning in terms for men. When he mentioned high value women, earnings didn't earnings wasn't there for the ladies in terms of high value. So that's why I was just asking, what does high value mean to you? And then I'm asking you, does it also include high earning? And can you tell what those high earnings are if you do agree with that?
Well, so like my sisters are with very, very high earning men because of the fact that they're also very high earning women. So it's very rare to see like anybody who has high earning money go after, especially a woman, go after a man that has nothing, or vice versa. Now, would I do it? Sure. Because I'm not really like that. I'm more so like I see your character before I see the money. And if I got it like that, then best believe that you and your family are going to be straight. That's how I rock. That's how I roll. Because if I love you and you meant for me, you fit for me, and you don't come with a lot, I'm going to make sure you're straight for generations. And so are your kids, and so are your families. So that's kind of that's my mindset. So yeah.
Anybody have anything to say about that?
I don't think so. I was gonna say that part of the reason why women, when they go to college and place their career and whatnot, part of the reason why they're not finding good men is because, well, men don't want to date other men. And what I mean by that is if you're a woman in a pretty high earning position, chances are you're going against other men. And so it takes masculine traits to do that. And so the masculine traits that you're acquiring while going for that position is unattractive to men. So now you put yourself in a position where you're now decrease your pool of dating because now if you're making 100,000 K or whatever, right? 100K, 200K, whatever. Now your pool is shortened because now you want a man that makes the same amount of money as you or higher. But the men that make that money don't want you. So you put yourself in a position where you're like you're shooting yourself in the foot, and you're pretty much like in a bad spot long term.
So you're speaking to the context you're speaking to, Beyonda, is the hypergamy aspect, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So you're correct in that. Women have always been taught to be hypergamous because historically that's kind of was like their only option because we've always men have always made more just by default. So of course a woman who's making $5 an hour is gonna be with a man who's making $15 an hour. I mean that's obvious, right? But the leveling of the playing field as time is going on, many things have arise, in terms of the wage gap. I know women are not gonna do every job that a man is known to do. I mean, women, you could just tell in the application rates, women are not trying to work in construction or be or sanitation in the same rate that men are. And I'm not suggesting they do, but there are other fields, white collar, professional and career that women have gone into, and they're making more money than they've ever been. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not knocking that. I'm not knocking that. But as men, we've always been hypogamous. So that's something we've been used to. This is why we don't trip when we get with a woman who makes less money than us. But women have never been hypogamous. That is not something that has been in their wheelhouse for most of their generations. So I would say to them, some of that's kind of new to them. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's not new to us. And like somebody said in the comments, oh yeah, we would definitely date a woman who makes less money than us. Well, because we already know as men that we're responsible for most of the provision anyway, right? We already know that. What we're looking for is the intangible things that's going to align with us that best works. You know what I'm saying? And women, even women who don't have jobs, reciprocate in the capacity that they can. Case in point, she may not be able to buy steak dinners to the same capacity that I can, but best believe if I cook something in the house and she's willing to wash the dishes, that's her contributing. You know what I'm saying? Or I bought the food, but she makes the plate. That's contributing. I'm just naming little like subtle things. I'm not trying to be like chauvinistic. If anybody understands, does anybody want to speak to that?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that little things matter. People overcomplicate. The things you do with your significant other. It doesn't have to be big things. It can be little things. So if you overlook the small things, well, big things will happen, and there'll be like arguments will start happening and whatnot. So it's important to start small, and then if you are able to contribute big things, then do that. But if you cannot, then there's no need to focus on what you can't do or what the other person can do.
Yeah, well, my sisters, they all work in business, so they all work in different industries in business, and so because of that, all of my siblings, we want a man that makes that type of money, and if he can't, then that's cool. Like I said, if he is for us, then we'll take him, and set him and his family straight. But I think I don't know. That's just kind of my thing. Yeah, I don't like 9 to 5 jobs. Never have. Yeah, I don't like when people work 9 to 5 jobs. It bothers me. It really irritates me actually when people say they have to work 9 to 5 jobs. They have to get up. Like that should like that just bothers me like a lot. Like, why are you working like that? But yeah, that kind of, I don't know. That's kind of my mindset. Like, why would you work a 9 to 5 job at McDonald's? Why would you do construction? Like, why would you do that? And I just don't know why people slave away. I don't get it.
Hello, how y'all doing?
Before I let Black Beauty come in, hey, hold on one second, Black Beauty. Before I let Black Beauty come in, Sam Sarah, Lady T, anything you want to say?
Contributions come in many different forms, and it depends on the dynamics of the relationship. And usually you fulfill in a relationship what is needed. So regardless of where you are at in life, or like, how successful you are, or, you could be with somebody that doesn't have a job. It's as long as they're fulfilling in the relationship and y'all work as a team and you guys build toward the future y'all want. But contributions come in many different forms.
Sam Sarah?
I totally agree with her.
Thank you. Black Beauty.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing today, or how's everyone doing today? It says, are men choosing beauty over red flags? In some cases, I think so. I think some people are very shallow in that matter, which is their own choice. But if you're going to complain about it later down the line because you didn't vet them properly, then you should be accountable to take that on the chin. Looking at how, you know what I'm saying, as far as that goes. So, but I do agree with the young lady at the top. I think a lot of times people get caught up in what somebody told them they wanted, or even to even know what they actually wanted, because being involved in a relationship and seeing what actually worked for you and that person, that's what matters. If it works for y'all both to work, or it works for one to work and the other one to not work, then that's what's working for the best of whatever situation y'all got at hand. But when you go and look at the dynamic of someone else's, and you're taking apart everything your person come with because of someone else, that becomes a problem, because you don't even know what that person had to do. You don't know all the components that go to how they got there, or why they in a position they in now, to know where you can sit comfortably. But I think the conversation need to be had before anything else smacks and everything else get involved. A lot of times I just think people don't have those real conversations. They so caught up in the beauty or the handsomeness or the money, and really don't look at the character, the mindset, and how strategic a person is in a relationship, to even, you know what I'm saying, to make sure you have a healthy one. So yeah, it's so many different layers, if you ask me. I land.
Yeah, I feel that. You know, I'm reading a comment real quick from Snitch TV. Shout outs to you. You've been here before, Snitch. He said that men underestimate the damage a woman could do when you overlook red flags.
I agree
Yeah.
because in reality, I think the guy at the top, I think his name is the Beyond. I can't see the rest of it, but he was saying, like, a lot of times you can see a small, like, when I hate when people say, I didn't see nothing. Yes, you did. They showed you in a small increment, and you didn't attend to that small issue. Small issues always turn into bigger issues. And when you don't attend to small issues, you let it go on and prolong, and then it turns into something big, and then you act like, oh, I didn't know that this could occur, or this was going to occur. Yes, you did, because you didn't attend to the small issue that you knew you really didn't like, but you liked them a little bit more than you liked the distaste of that. that you didn't even go and talk about it, or even say like, hey, is this something like regular about you, or is this something that's just coming up right now for this situation? But you didn't do that, so you didn't know that that is really them, to know that this is going to be repetitive, this is going to be consistent. It's just showing it's just showing a small token because we're just getting to know each other. But once we get involved, oh, this is gonna go to a full-fledged, you know what I'm saying, meltdown, shutdown. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they playing games. That's why I tell people,
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier that, you know,
go
yeah, and
ahead,
I
I'm
mentioned
sorry.
earlier, and I'm gonna get a mic back to you. Yeah, it's okay. I mentioned
All right.
earlier in the stream that, there are men who will go as far as to marry a woman ignoring red flags just because she looked good or just because of what she may do in the bedroom. You know?
Yeah. You know that bedroom will get you. That's why I tell people all the time that Smex get you get you done every time. That Smex will get you done every time. That's why I like vetting. I like character. That's why a lot of times, even guys who got money, like I tell people all the time, it's not really hard to find nobody with no money. But if they ain't got no substance, that ain't gonna keep me there. Because you got money don't mean you got character, and character means more to me. Character, I like a man with character. It's a good quality in a leader to me. I mean, and I got good leadership skills. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want nobody like that. I feel like money, as far as the dynamic of how the world is with everyone being able to be independent, um, you can always take care of yourself if you independent and self-sufficient. So money comes and goes, you know what I'm saying? But what we really need to look at in the world is character is getting lost. And that's something that's more important to me. So that's something that's at the top of the food chain. So I can't, you know what I'm saying? I don't get me wrong. Anybody, whether you a man or a woman, if you got somebody who got your back, and you can take, and you don't have to be stressed about certain things, and they can take the burden off of you. I'm pretty sure most people appreciate not being exhausted and having somebody where you can be a little more free, and you ain't, you know what I'm saying? Oh my God, do I got to make the next payday or whatever like that? I'm pretty sure I will be grateful in that manner if I, you know what I'm saying, if that was something that really mattered to me. So I understand that, but if that's all you got to offer, I think I would be lonely. I ain't knocking the ones who just want to get in, you know what I'm saying, in that stance, and I ain't knocking the men who pick women that, you know what I'm saying, just beautified. But I think sometimes if you're going to be mad about those situations later down the line, you have to look at yourself. If you okay with just being her being fine and being a bimbo, because not every fine person is a bimbo. But if you comfortable with that, I ain't got nothing to say, baby. If it's working for you, it's working for you. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I really respect what you're saying. I hear a lot of common sense in your in what you're saying, and I respect that wholeheartedly. And
I
there's
followed
no
you.
love. The love is I, I and I'm gonna follow you back. The love, it's like the love ain't there. One of the red flags that a man should always pay attention to is when you first meet her and the first thing she asking for is money. That's a red flag. To me, it is. To me, it is. And so that shouldn't be the first thing. It'll be like the first initial thing. And another red flag for me is when everything is about what can you do for me, but it's nothing about what someone could, you know, uh, reciprocate as well, and that's a red flag. You know, and I know red flags could be subjective for certain people because it's all depends on what are the standards that you're even moving on to pick such woman. This is for the men. You know,
Right.
and so beyond you're the only other man on the panel besides me. You have anything to say to that? Because that does matter in terms of what red flags are. And red flags can be subjective, but we all know that they're blatant red flags. Oh, okay, Beyonda had to go.
Oh.
All right, Beyonda. Shout outs to you, Beyonda. But yeah, no, just to speak to what you're saying, Black Beauty. Yes, you gotta have. I think a lot of times people go into the dating world, they don't know what their standards are, and that's dangerous. And this is why you shouldn't just go out and date. You should You should really work on
Gas it
yourself
out.
before you go out there. Go ahead.
It's crazy because like I'm out here on a dating scene, and my cousin, I got a boy cousin and a girl cousin. They watch how I date, and he be like, "Man, you got a strict program, cousin." And I'll be like, "No," because I kind of know what I'm looking for. I'm not like it's plenty of people that be like, "I really like you," and da 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 da. But like I tell people all the time, one thing that's a non-negotiable for me is I want children. So if a person like me who wants children and you say, "Well, I don't want children," why would I waste your time and why would you force me to waste mine, knowing you do not want that? But you like the image of me, but what we want and set is something we don't agree on. So you want to be later arguing about something we both had a misunderstanding about? Absolutely not. I don't do that. I respect it. I move around. That's why I always say my little line to them. I say, I ain't trying to be no imposter on that roster. They be like, "You so funny." I be like, "I'm serious. I'm not trying to be another imposter on your roster." Flat out, because I know exactly what I'm looking for, and I'm not slowing you up. If you still having fun, I'm not slowing nothing up that you trying to do. I know exactly what I want. I come in healthy. I come in to be a partner. I don't come in to just be me, and I don't come in to just be you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not coming into that. I want to know what's the family dynamic. I want to know what you done worked on, because I always tell people when you come out of a relationship, people love to say, "Oh, I ain't do nothing." It's something in that relationship that you didn't do the best of yourself. And you should have fixed it, because I know things in myself that I have fixed, leaving out old relationships. Never been not a cheater, not no infidelity aspect, but far as like maybe a little bit of selfishness. I'm used to doing things on my own that I did not know how to navigate when you get a partner. Things of that nature. You learn. It's things you refine, and that's okay. That's called life, growing and stuff like that. And that's what I'm on. You know what I'm saying? So, and I like respect, and I like somebody that's kind of family oriented, because I am family oriented. Now, I'm not mad if you're not that type of person, but I don't want a person who wants to not let me be with family because they're not in that space. It's a difference. I can honor your space of not being family involved, but I cannot honor it if you want to suppress me to act like you in that manner. Then we can't work either. See, I'm listening to you. And I don't think a lot of people be listening to the people when they be having these dates. They just be looking like, "Dang, they fine. They got a couple dollars," or "She got her own crib. She ain't got no kids. She perfect, but don't know her mental. That she really crazy as hell. Her communications is terrible. She already acting out at the date or can't calm down." You already know that really mentality wise, she's not perfect as far as what you think she is. But far as having her shit together, that is perfect. But them them separate things. And I don't think
Just
people
watch
be
the
looking
language
at
for me,
that.
Black Beauty, okay?
I'm
Just
sorry.
watch the
Oh,
language
I'm
for me.
sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. You can talk. But just, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I respect, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think they don't be understanding that aspect in them two separate things. You can have them both at the same time. Like they can pay their bills on time and this and this and that, but they can't communicate well. So I know it's going to be drama over here. You know what I'm saying? So I think people don't really be looking at both ends of the coin. They be looking at one and be thinking like, "Oh, this final." You know what I'm saying? Da 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 da. And that ain't all. You got to get up in that surface. You got to scratch that, get up in that root. So yeah. And I land.
That's what's up. Hey, thanks for coming on the panel, Black Beauty. So I've been live for like 3 hours, so I do got to end the stream because I have to
Okay.
clock in. I have to clock in for work. So hey, I'm gonna let you give your final thoughts first, and then I'm gonna get the Lady T. Okay? If you have any final
Okay.
thoughts, and I know come
Oh,
back Tuesday. As you see on my graphic,
it's
I
Tuesday.
go live. Yeah, I go live
Okay.
Tuesdays and every Tuesday and Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 12 Central. Okay, I would definitely
Okay.
like for you to come back because I got an interesting topic that's for the women. I'm pretty fair. I like to do when I do relationship topics, I have topics that are both for men and women and also gender
Okay.
neutral. Okay, I do new
Okay.
topics every episode. All right, so
Okay.
get to know me, and you'll definitely want to stick around. Okay, I treat people with respect. I'm fair, and
I appreciate it. I will be
I'm building
back.
a TikTok community. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I'll be back. That's why I added you. I think I added the lady at the top because she said some good things. And I liked that
Yes,
it was respectful and mature. So I will be back. I appreciate you letting me up.
no
And that's
problem,
it.
no problem. All right, you have a good day.
You too.
All right, Lady T.
Well, my what is it? The closing statement I would say
Yeah.
is the best thing in the world is to work on thyself first, heal thyself before you get into anything, and to improve in every aspect. Because what you give out is what you will receive, right? And the thing goes is to shine bright and be the best you can be in this world. And when it comes to relationships, take time to know your partner.
Absolutely.
And be blessed, everyone. You guys take care.
You too. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you for rocking with me all stream. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. It was fun.
No problem. Thank you. Come back next time.
Okay. Take care.
Take care. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this live will be up tomorrow on my YouTube channel at Fifth General TV. I want to thank everyone who's enjoyed the stream. This was 3 hours and some change. See you Tuesday. I go live every Tuesday and Thursday. 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 Central. Okay? We got a topic for the ladies Tuesday, so y'all stay tuned. I'll announce that on my page at some point, prior to the stream. And everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Peace and God bless. See you next time.